Welcome everybody to the N-Word for Nerd podcast. I'm here as always with my illustrious, great crew team. But like we always do, we're starting off one more again with our top list. And this we're going top three. Yes, top three alternate history movies. And naturally, we always do this with a theme because we're going to review a movie called Tomorrow Man. We'll wait till we get to reviews.
Also, the movie as well as alt history.
Yes, that's definitely alt history. Yeah.
Whoa! I don't know if that's alternate history or just the real history of America.
I believe that's the history of being taught in schools.
Exactly. Let's jump right into it, Jaron. Let's go with your number 3 alternate history movie of all time.
Number 3 is going to be an animated one, Steam Boy. Big fan of the animation style. Anytime you get that like steampunky kind of like alternate London history thing, if done well, it's great. I really like the Nevers kind of has the same thing going on. So I dig it. I like the vibe, and the animation is top notch. And Anna Paquin couldn't even ruin it.
Wow,
hey,
that means it's really good. If you want to say, Jason number A. What is your number 3 alternate history?
Number 3 for me is going to be a pretty obvious choice. Inglourious Bastards, probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie next to like Django. But yeah, they killed Hitler in that movie. It's freaking awesome. It's a great one of it's one of Quentin Tarantino's best movies because it's one that he tells kind of like as an actual story rather than trying to be clever and cutting everything up into little pieces and having you figure it out. So yeah, Inglourious Bastards is number 3 for me.
Not only do they kill Hitler, like they Swiss cheese his face.
Yeah, they
like it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. I always think that Inglourious Bastards is Quentin Tarantino's like film cinematic masterpiece. I don't think he'll ever make a movie better shot or better dialogue than that movie. But I've had that debate with people because people bring up Pulp Fiction and other stuff. And anyway, we'll save that debate for another day.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction didn't have Christoph Waltz, so it loses.
Touche. Going with that whole theme, my number 3 is Django. I mean, you get Jamie Foxx, you get Christoph Waltz, and you get a literal slave getting his, well, I guess you want to say supposed freedom and sticking it to a slave owner. And you know what? The best part about it for me is that like we live in a culture, as me and Jason, number 8 will tell you, and Jaron, you probably know about it because we've talked about it. Like it's people in the black community that I don't address by the slurish names because I try myself to just respect all black people regardless of their opinions and how they function through life. But that Samuel L. Jackson character, Steven, is probably the greatest example of what a lot of upstanding black people feel about some other black people that we don't really, really, really want to associate with. Steven encapsulated that perfectly, and it felt great for him.
From the same cloth.
I'll say it. Yes. Again, I always say that I won't, but it's free for everybody else too. But yes, Steven's comeuppance is the most beautiful thing that I have seen in cinematic history. And if I could just keep that on replay, I did at one point. It's just great. So yes, Django.
For me, like Steven was a very tragic character. I felt sorry for him because he was brainwashed, man. He was, you could say it was kind of his choice to come into that, but like he did the best he could to survive in slavery, which was to be, the slave master's right-hand man. But either way, I
know I get you, and I think we could have that conversation. I think that's a great geek culture conversation one day to actually break down that, because I think you're right. It is something to be said to that. I just think I have an opinion that strings why I detest those kind of.
Here's what's going to make people mad. I like Steven better than like Snape.
I can agree with that. I mean, I like any black person better than any white person, so that automatically just let up.
Any?
Yeah, I mean, I'm rocking with OJ before I rock with some white people. So,
oh no, I'm not hanging out with OJ, man.
I hope I beat out OJ. In your
OJ doesn't attack people that look like me, so I'm good.
I hope I beat out OJ in your world.
It's close, Jaron. It's close. Jokes. Everybody, I'm joking. Jared, you're number 2 alternate history movie.
Number 2. So alternate history. This might be on the edge of definition. it is definitely something where there was a set history, and then due to tampering with the timeline, the history was changed. So I don't know if it technically qualifies, but I really, one of my favorite movies out there, period, is Frequency. And so you got Dennis Quaid, you got, the Jesus, you got Andre, the Jesus. You got Andre Braugher from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Glory, being awesome in it too. Just phenomenal movie. One of the most satisfying endings. Great build. And I love, the darkness of it, essentially. It was really good.
Man, that's a real dark horse, man. I haven't watched Frequency in years, man. But it's a good choice. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a dark horse. Yeah. Jason, number A. Your number 2.
My number 2 alt history movie is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Like,
I love that movie.
So, growing up, going to AP English, we read a lot of Jane Austen books in AP English, and it was literally not my demographic. It's about, all these books are about, the aristocracy of white women. And it's like, I don't have anything to relate to this. And I remember the girls in my class swooning over Heathcliff and Mr. Darcy and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Adding zombies makes me care. So I enjoy
Funny how that works.
Clearly because of this pure batshit insanity of this Victorian love story taking the backdrop of zombies. So Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Actually, funny enough, I saw that in the theater 2 times. Then I saw it the first time and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and watch it again. Yeah. I love that movie. I do really do. My number 2 is going to be, it's just an easy, I'm going to say this is probably the safest pick that we're probably all going to have. It's Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it literally is alternate history because we ain't got the damn hoverboards. Like, it's hard. But
is it though?
I mean,
it predicted
because
Donald
in the
Trump.
second timeline is really similar to a timeline that we had.
Yeah, I was gonna say it predicted Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Biff being a stand-in for it, but yes, it wasn't like The Simpsons where they actually had him as the president. So, but I would say alternate history on that one. But also too, like as a kid, Back to the Future 2 had to be everybody's favorite Back to the Future. Until you get older, you realize it's not as good of a movie as 1. But it's still so awesome to watch, like Marty being his pops. And then when you find out that Crispin Glover didn't film really any scenes for 2.
He sued them because they used a copy of his face to make a mask for the actor that played his character. So he sued Robert Zemeckis in the studio for that.
Yeah.
And lost.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing to me is like if no one ever told me that, I would have never you don't know.
I thought it was Crispin Glover.
Yeah. Like when you watch it, you're like, well, hold on. He didn't play in this movie. I'm like, nope, not a minute. Like, that's insane. So yes, Back to the Future 2, alternate history timeline movie for me, number 2. Jaren, you're number 1.
I mean, it's a toss-up. It's either Inglourious Basterds or Back to the Future 2, but because I have so much love for the Back to the Future series, and because they made the car fly, which is probably the coolest thing in the world. That hover conversion he got done in the late 21st century. God, I can't wait for that to happen. I mean, I don't trust motherfuckers around here to drive on a street, let alone fall out of the sky, because they're like, I know how much gas my car needs, but
I can make it. I can make it to the sticks.
I'll make it. So
should be falling out of the sky all the time. Like raining cars.
Oh, I know it'll never happen, but man, yeah. It was such a positive. It's also we all love sci-fi, and 9 times out of 10, when you go to the future, it is a bleak, and it is it's one of those well. If it isn't the consequences of our own actions, but in Back to the Future, there was a bright and positive and aspirational future that I dug and I liked and I wanted to be.
Not for Marty McFly, he gets fired, but
yeah, I mean, he didn't wear enough tie.
People. Yuck. I have to ask Jaren, and we'll go around, but I kind of already know your answer possibly. But DeLorean or Ecto? And I'm gonna go Ecto 1. Let's go Ecto 1 to make it easy because we know it's different versions of the Ecto. Which one are you taking?
I mean, it probably.
Oh, maybe which one's your favorite? Let's say that. Let's say
it probably goes Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2, then the DeLorean, then Ecto 1.
Ecto
Jason
1A.
The for hire.
Can I throw in the turtle van?
And the 80s Batmobile. I mean, you can throw them all in.
Oh, 80s Batmobile's great. Which one would you say, Ecto or DeLorean?
DeLorean, because that cell comes with cocaine. So not only do I get to travel through time, but I also get, copious amounts of cocaine. That's be great.
Yeah, I'll go DeLorean as well. I'm only going DeLorean because of the doors. That's it.
Yeah.
Right, for the gull wings. Yeah.
The gull wing doors.
That's
so cool.
Only thing sucks, I always wondered those guys, like when you get like, if someone parks really close to you, how do you?
You're fucked. You're fucked.
Okay.
It doesn't. It's not as good as the new Tesla minivan, but they don't get too much wider in the apex of the door. It's curved at the end, and the hinge is set really close to the middle of the car, so there isn't like much of an extension. It doesn't go as wide as you think it does when you open it up.
But who's really parking their DeLorean next to other cars? Come on.
That's true. Look at the N-word, guys. Educating you guys one DeLorean door at a time. One DeLorean door at a time, educating you. All right, Duke of all nerds, your number one alternate timeline history movie.
Number one, alternate timeline history movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Ooh.
It's a history in which, cartoons are real and they live in their real toon-town and people, it's basically Chinatown with cartoons, like legitimately. And,
you're right.
Dude, those Roger Rabbit fought in World War II and all sorts of stuff. And there were cartoons that fought in all sorts of stuff. So not only is it great on a groundbreaking technical standpoint, but just a all around just classic movie. So yeah, Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And all right, and also I saw this movie when I was 5. And my very first sexual thoughts about another person was Jessica Rabbit. So, how do you know when you're straight? You look at Jessica Rabbit and your little dungarees get tight.
Even though she was a ginger, you were still down. I was like, all right.
Oh man, Jessica Rabbit. Ooh.
Yes. You know what's funny? I feel like, we never really announce who wins these top threes, but I feel like me and Jared will both kind of say, I think you might have won this one, Jason. Because I'm mad that I didn't choose Who Framed Roger. I'm upset at myself that I did not choose.
Favorite movies of all time.
This is like for Googling alternate history movies.
I'm so mad at myself. My number one, and we talked about frequency being a kind of a deep cut. My number one is I say it's a deep cut because everybody that I talk to about has usually never seen this movie, and they go, "Oh, I remember something about it," but they never saw it because they pretty much tanked at the box office. But I think it's a great movie. I think it's a phenomenal movie, and it just tanked. My number one would be Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
It did
I
tank at the
fucking
box office.
love that movie.
Hell of a tank.
I watched that in the theaters, and I have no idea what that's about.
Aren't there Nazis on the moon, or is that something else?
That's Iron Sky.
Iron Sky. Yeah.
They both have a similar filming style or something.
Yes,
is that
they
why
do.
I'm conflating the two.
So the cool thing about Sky Captain was one of the first movies entirely filmed on blue screen. There was no practical sets in that movie whatsoever. Everything was digitally created.
George Lucas
really,
said,
really cool.
"Hold my beer." Is that what happened?
I freaking love that movie, and I would challenge you guys to go back and watch it now because our sensibility about how those kind of movies are made now feel a little different. Now, granted, you're talking to a guy too that loves The Rocketeer, that loves Captain America the First Event. I love those kind of old timey kind of twist movies, and this one ramps it up to 20. You got fucking giant robots marching through the city. Yeah. It ramps this crazy, and I love it. I mean, you got Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, whatever. But it is a phenomenal movie, and I feel like that's in my list of get people that haven't seen much of crazy shit. I usually go Hellboy 2 and Sky Captain because I just think those are some movies that nobody has really seen and talked about that are just phenomenally just from visuals and everything about it. But yeah, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, but I'm sadly wishing that I had picked Roger Rabbit.
Me too.
Roger Rabbit's a classic, man. Mostly Jessica Rabbit, though.
With that being said,
also, how was he able to marry her? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand like how that relationship works.
he's funny. He's funny. That's how.
Yeah,
and he probably has a big dick too.
Well, it's a cartoon, so he can make it
he's
grow
a
at
rabbit.
any.
He definitely fucks.
Facts.
He's a rabbit, so he's got quick recovery. Even if he's quick to the punch.
Let's go again. We're good.
Yep, he's back on it right away.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed that from us. And then now I guess we would do our welcome. Welcome everybody to the N-Word for Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Jason Allen, Corny J, in the building. I have my associates, my friends. Probably I'm trying to think of a great word because I feel like friends doesn't describe how tight we've become when it comes to this nerd shit. So if it's something tighter and nicer that people like the other, like, just let me know. But we'll go with that as always. The Duke of all nerds, Jason, number A. What's going on, Jason?
Nothing's going on. Happy 4th of July to people who are viewing this after 4th of July.
which will be everybody.
Which will be everybody.
Unless it's a sightseer, was it a 4-seer? Other than that, yes, it'll be after the 4th. And then we have our token. Yes, I do put you over OJ. Yes. It's like Jaron, so. And then OJ right there, right around there. So
you just doing that so we can see it on screen, but there's actually a mile between those two.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Things look closer and in the objects seem to be closer. What's going on, Jared? How's everything rolling, man?
Recovering after a weekend of tomfoolery and shenanigans. My check liver light came on, and so I'm doing my best not to look puffy and hungover.
Better your check liver than your check oil light coming on, because that's a whole other issue you don't want to deal with.
My car, it's 120 bones right there.
Oof. Well, even just from your anus, you don't want that coming on either for your body.
You don't want to get an oil check.
No, just get it out. Just get it out.
For everybody who has not watched us before, please go ahead and subscribe to Headcanon Circus. It's a great way to catch up with geek stuff. We have wrestling stuff. We have sometimes sports stuff we dabble in there, but then we also have music as well. So it's a little catch-all for everything. And then please follow us on Facebook, again, YouTube. We do have the audio versions on the podcast all over Headcanon Circus on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Google Playlists. You name it, we got it. We're everywhere. And if we aren't somewhere that you want us to be, let us know and we will try to be there. So let's jump into the arduous subject of the whole show. Let's jump into Geek and Nerd news. It's a lot of stuff we're going to go through, so we're going to shoot through it real quick. First things first, Dell has just released a 4K ultra sharp webcam that tracks users' face. The retail right now is $199, a lot steeper than my $20 webcam that I'm using now. But if you want to look professional and great for your Zoom calls or for your podcasts and vlogs, is the way to go. Jaron, you as my tech genius on the show, what are your thoughts? I know I sent some to you. Did you get a chance to look at it? Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I looked it over. The specs look great, and honestly, $200 for what that camera is delivering is an exceptionally reasonable ask. The software-based eye tracking and stuff like that you can use for a lot of things. Ironically, you can probably use that, repurpose that for games. There's certain flight simulators that if they track your eyes, you just look left and right, and it'll actually move the camera around your cockpit, so you don't have to interact with the controller. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, no, the camera, the specs on it look fantastic. Again, $200 for a 4K camera with all those features. Its white balancing capabilities look really nice. So, you don't even have to have a great lighting solution, which is something that separates like a super high end camera from, like that you can always tune exactly how you want it to look, to a low end camera where it's just going to give you a very basic kind of feel, but you don't have to futz with anything or know anything about lights. It seems like it has both options for you. If you have a lighting setup, you can optimize it for this camera, and if you don't, it'll do like close to like an Apple iPhone level camera. Which is one of their things, is it's famed for its software backing up, where it makes it so that you don't have to be good at what you do to get a good picture out of it.
So what you're saying is that Dell should sponsor us and give us all free versions of this webcam, and we can really, really give them a straight up review. I agree, Jaron. I agree.
Dell.
All right. Right. All right, everybody, get ready to show your might and fight. Mortal Kombat has its Battle of the Realms first look has just dropped. Again, it's the sequel to Scorpion's Revenge. Jason, number A, what are your thoughts on this one? I know we already kind of mentioned we're excited about it, but did you get a chance to get a look at the first look? And what were your thoughts?
I did not get a chance to look at the first look, but it doesn't really matter. As long as they are not giving us the movie, I'm all for it. It's good.
You're not a fan of waiting for the sequels that explain everything that the first one didn't explain? You're not a fan of that?
Or actually getting to the Mortal Kombat?
Touche. All right, moving right along. Master Chief must be having troubles or very hard to work with and act with because the live action version of Halo is Master Chief, right? Because, I haven't played Halo in maybe, 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have, Jaron knows I don't have a system anymore. Last game I actually played fully on was Arkham Knight. So,
good game.
Great game.
Yeah. But yeah, so yes, the Halo live action is moving to their second director just dropped out. So they are looking to get their, I guess, third coming on. But they said they are not moving the scheduled 2022 release date, and it is going to be on Paramount Plus. Jaron, does this kind of lower your expectations that they can't keep a director in the seat?
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes. Sometimes it's a good idea. Sometimes it's a bad idea. I was incredibly heartbroken when Edgar Wright was left Ant-Man because I thought, I love Edgar Wright. I love his directing ability. And I love Paul Rudd. And I think the way they were going to go with Ant-Man, like I was like, this is like a match made in heaven. And then because Edgar Wright was, for better or worse, an artist and didn't want to jump through all the corporate cog hoops that are required in making a Marvel movie. He took the L, dipped out, and somebody else came in. And the movie's all right, and it still reflects a lot of his sensibilities because they definitely didn't have time to rewrite anything. But I mean, there's so many reasons why a director leaves a project, but to have multiple directors leave a project is never. I don't think it's ever been a good sign. I don't think anything has come out, and I'm trying desperately, I'm racking my brain right now. I'm trying to think of something that was talked about like publicly as losing like two directors, and then the final product was like amazing somehow. I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think like in the history of cinema, that's ever happened. They did do Halo live action, right? There was Forward Onto Dawn is exactly what I was gonna say. It was an amazing, interesting angle that they took it at too. Master Chief looked good in it. The world building was phenomenal. And as a fan of the series, I loved how they did it. I wish they would just let people do more of that because I think they could. I think it is a series that is built from the ground up to be cinematic and beautiful and have this expansive story in it. So, I mean, give it to a team. Give it to a team that knows what they're doing and let them just do it. And I think you'll end up with something good. Not the Star Wars team. Not the Star Wars team.
I mean, if J.J. Abrams had a plan, he would probably have done a good job, but he didn't have a plan.
Yeah. All right. Well, but he only got one movie and then and came back.
Don't
later.
let Rian Johnson, do your second. Let him do the first one. And then say, okay, what are we gonna do after the first one?
Get a better writer. Get a better writer.
I don't even know if you want him to do the second or the first one, because like they'll just be like, oh, the fandom hates all this. Well, then we rewrite it all for the second one, so it won't matter. If you're going to put a director like Rian Johnson in that seat, you got to do him with the IP that isn't so feverishly beloved. Because I didn't mind the stuff Rian Johnson did, but we know as Star Wars guys, we know you change something a little bit, they lose their effing minds and they destroy everything. And it didn't help that the movie wasn't that entertaining. That's the biggest problem. The movie wasn't that entertaining. If the shit was entertaining, then they probably got away with all the changes. But neither here nor there. We'll save the discussion for a whole nother day. Maybe when the next Star Wars movie officially. Did he ruin Star Wars, or was it Lucas himself? Anyway,
Jar Jar Lucas.
Touche.
I know all you guys one day want to ball like LeBron, especially on the Xbox. Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, has come out with LeBron James oriented shoes for the movie and a Xbox controller for it. I see Jason shaking his head. Jason, please tell me your son signed up for this. You're ready to roll with this, right?
No, this is dumb. This is so dumb. Space Jam, the only redeeming quality is the first Space Jam was the soundtrack. And since I haven't heard anything about how good the soundtrack for this was going to be, this movie looks stupid. This is not like, no kid cares about this. There's no point to any of this. They're just trying to make money off something that's going to probably not make any of the money at all. So this is
actually, we actually talked about the soundtrack of Space Jam on the Gladiator Cypher podcast. Check it out every Wednesday. And we talked about that too, like how the first soundtrack of Space Jam is a banger. This new one, I don't know.
Way better than the movie.
right.
Wait.
Move right along.
People don't remember Space Jam for Bill Murray and the fat neighbor from Seinfeld. That's not what.
No.
Okay.
No kid was like, "Oh my god, it's Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park. Oh, I love that guy."
With his innovative cooling solutions.
Yes. Move right along. Ron Perlman is going to be the voice of Optimus Primal for Transformers: Rise of the Beast. This is probably the first time I'm excited and basically destroyed at the same time. Jaron, your thoughts on Ron Perlman being associated with this, and does this raise your level by any means?
All right, isn't the voice of Optimus Prime still alive? I know he's like 1,000, but isn't he still kicking?
Well, Optimus Prime is going to be in the movie. Optimus Primal was like another Prime.
Oh, yeah. I got you. No, yeah, I mean, they could have gone with Vin Diesel, just something like a gravelly voice. I mean, when it comes to voice acting, and they don't actually have to be on camera. Yeah, no, Ron Perlman. I'm watching a show that he does now called The Startup, and he's getting up there in age. So something that can sit him down behind a microphone in the studio. Yeah.
He's like 9,000 years old at this point.
Yeah, look here. Let's not ever ask for Vin Diesel to voice anybody but Groot. Because I don't understand what the hell Vin Diesel ever says. I am Groot is enough that I can understand because he repeats it. Don't ever sign Vin Diesel up for any more acting role.
Voice acting is way harder than regular acting, and Vin Diesel can't regular act. So let's just leave him alone.
I got you.
leave all the acting, leave all the black acting gigs to Lamar. That should be just a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Moving right along, we have Magic the Gathering is now going to merge a little bit with D&D, so they're going to have some Magic of the Gathering cards that are D&D inspired, and I guess this is a thing for the communities to talk about, and luckily enough, because this show, we have everything here. We have a Magical Gathering person and a D&D person here. So, Jaron, as the Magic the Gathering, if I'm correct, that's your forte in the gaming world. Your thoughts on this merge on, bringing it on?
Yeah, I got cards right here. Wizards of the Coast is Magic, and D&D is their. What's their company?
Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, so it's corporate synergy, guys. They just took the guys. They just took the guys from down the hall and introduced them to the other guys that were down the other hall. So they're both magically, mystically kind of the stories go together really well. It'd be more difficult for them to do that with like D&D and
Pokemon.
Ghostbusters. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be more difficult, I think. So yeah, no, they can do it well, I'm sure. And the people that run these franchises are I think they're doing a good job. People that play Magic seem to be happy with the new sets coming out and the direction they're going. Obviously, some cards have to be fixed post-launch when somebody breaks the game, but I haven't really read anything about it, but I've played D&D in the day, and I play Magic with a lot of my college friends still to this day because I'm an adult.
And I have an adult money to spend
on
stuff.
Do what I want. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll see how it goes.
All right, Duke of all nerds, you representing D&D. You're actually a dungeon man. A dungeon was
dungeon
a manager.
Master, sir.
Oh, excuse me,
master.
I don't want to take your credentials away from you. What are your thoughts on this?
Let me know. I want to get in on one of your games.
All right, that's next time. But yeah, they already did this for Dungeons and Dragons. They've already introduced, Magic and the Gathering into Dungeons and Dragons. So this is basically more corporate synergy. Wizards of the Coast, they seem to be running on all cylinders when it comes to their IPs. So yeah, this should be fun for anybody who plays Magic, who cares about D&D. For those of us who don't play Magic and who care about D&D, I'm not going to start playing Magic because of it, but it would be, if I were to play Magic, I would definitely, seek out some D&D cards. So yeah, this is cool. This is real cool.
All right. Mickey Mouse Emperor, all hail Emperor Mickey. He has done something that I just dreamed about and I love. We are going to get a Star Wars anime, Star Wars Visions. And not like the anime kind of, because some people would say, well, we got a Star Wars anime. It was I can't think of the gentleman's name that made Samurai Jack.
Jindy Tartaveski.
Yes. People would say, well, we already got a anime Star Wars. Like he did it for the Clone Wars. But yeah, that's the thing I said. That's not it. We're going to get a full anime 9-episode, different anime style art for each one series called Star Wars Visions. It is going to drop on Disney Plus September 22nd. Duke of all nerds, I know you have to be just as amped as I am to see this is going to happen.
So I say this a lot. I'm not a really big fan of anime as a style or as a genre of stuff, but there was on YouTube a few years back, someone had redid Star Wars in an anime style. And I really hope that this person is involved in some way, but if it's not, it's still going to be cool. Like, usually their non-movie offerings are really, really good. So let's just hope that they just keep on the form with that. I'm excited. I'll watch it. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm here for it. When I saw it, I was like, thank you. I just can't wait till somebody pulls out the lightsaber and just goes like straight anime style, bullet with speed, slicing through everything. Like I
really
can't wait.
need
I'm here for
Luke Skywalker powering up for 3 episodes before you fight Darth Vader, though.
you think you don't need it until you see it, and then you realize you needed it more.
It's like, do you think I was using my full power in the Force? Now I was only using a 10th.
Well, that'd be something that Vader would say to Luke. So yes, you would think when you think you don't want it, you'll realize how much you do want it when he starts flexing and pulling mountaintops off the side and dropping it on Luke. Going with that, Disney has dropped the Slave One moniker off of Boba Fett's starship, so now it's just going to be called Boba Fett's Starship. I feel like I need to open this up to both sides here, but Duke of all nerds, your thoughts on Disney's wokeness?
This isn't true, or at least so says TikTok. Apparently, this is how they do all their ships on website services. It says Luke Skywalker's ship. It says Count Dooku's ship. This isn't true. They haven't renamed it from Slave One to. That's just how they market it to children. So we are getting angry over nothing. At least those who are angry are getting angry over nothing. At least that's what TikTok says. I haven't done my internet research.
From what I read, that Disney is dropping it even to be called that. Like, it won't be referred to as. Now, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they do it for all the ships, but I think they're not going to call the Millennium Falcon Han Solo Starship. It's still going to be that. I think they're not talking about it being named that at all anymore. Like, it's no longer going to be quote unquote canon, is what they said, because of just like for Leia, they don't call it Leia's slave, whatever. When she's with Jabba the Hutt. They made it something else. That outfit, they called it something else now. Like anything when dealing with slave, they kind of
Leia's cheeky
shifted away. Yeah, right. Leia's day at the beach.
Yep.
right. Jared, well, if this is true and they are removing it, what are your thoughts on that?
So in the article I read, they did show a picture of a Lego box with it, and it did say Boba Fett's ship versus just saying Slave One on it. I don't know. It's at this point, you know how sometimes you say a word over and over and over again, and it tends to lose meaning, and it becomes more transmogrified in your mind as to what that word is. Like, Kleenex versus tissue or something like that. It just becomes the thing. Mm-hmm. I think when I hear about his ship, and I've known it as Slave One my entire life, I don't actually think of it as like, oh, is he a slaver? Is he like running around collecting indigenous people that can't fight back, and then like delivering them to the plantations of the future? I never picked up on that. Yeah, far away and a long time ago. My bad. But the word itself, I guess, and that might be privilege on my part, or it might be something that is something I need to look into inward for. But I never really, I see why woke people are being real salty about it, but I don't know if I ever made that characterization of it. So
as a person of color, I've never cared that it was called Slave One. Like, you
Thank
can
you.
use the word
Also-
slave. I mean, it's fine.
Or-
Don't call me a
look,
slave or call my
look,
ancestors slaves. They were enslaved people. But
right.
if this
it's a
is-
word
if
that
this is
exists.
true. If this is true. The thing that bothers me the most, if this is true, is that you made the origin of probably the most perennial character in your series a slave when he was introduced.
Right.
And him from being a slave motivated him through the rest of his career of why he wanted to end slavery. Because he wanted to free his mother and he couldn't. And then his mother gets killed. And that
people who
basically
did
forces
slavery.
himself. Well,
And
I mean,
killing younglings.
well, being completely honest, like the galaxy did kind of get rid of slavery for the things they controlled. No, there was no more slavery going on in the new series. Well, for the part that the Empire controlled. Now they did pretty much enslave all those countries. Well, no, what was slavery going on when the New Hope?
They enslaved every Wookiee there was. They enslaved the entire population of Kashyyyk. They enslaved every Twi'lek as well. They enslaved all those people who weren't slaves.
No, well, I mean slavery
the
under them. I'm talking about it was no independent slavery going on through the Empire. They enslaved everything because they controlled everything.
They centralized slavery under their power. You're
right. Like it was in their mind, they were like all
synergy.
Again, like all people that run a dynasty, they think, oh, well, they're under our control. It's not slavery. We're making them run through our control. But these people, like again, it wasn't the Anakin slavery that we got in the prequels where it was just slave colonies. They were like, oh yeah, these are the slave colony areas. Like they just do what the fuck they want to do. They run by their own rules. So but I'm saying, but the point is Vader's inspiration to wanting to be Vader was that he wanted to, quote unquote, in his mind, stop slavery. Like that was his motivation. Now, we do know from bad writing that it has been manipulated and changed. And if you go through the Legacy series, like you said, like you mentioned, it's changed. But from what it was originally supposed to be, that was the whole point of Vader wanted to do. It was to stop slavery and keep the people he loved protected. So slavery's been a part of this franchise, is the point I'm getting to.
Yes,
chopping the name
correct.
Slave One is not going to change the fact that once you go through all the stuff that's been going on, most of it's about slavery to begin with. Like, it is what it is. I think it's just a crazy thing to do. And it's a bounty hunter. Chances are, if you're a bounty hunter, you're catching somebody
well, I mean,
a slave. Like
bounty hunters in general, and especially in this country, were designed for catching slaves. That's
exactly. Like
so they probably should change Boba Fett from being a bounty hunter to being a mercenary for hire.
Yeah, that's the next. If they do that, the Star Wars community's all heads will explode at once. And
yeah, for some reason, like the Star Wars community is very, very toxically like racist. Like, how did that happen?
You think? So moving right along because we're gonna make me hate the thing that I love. So Marvel and Netmarble team up for a fastball special. You see what I did there? And collab to make Marvel Future Revolutions, which is the first Marvel open world action RPG on a mobile device market. It is yet to be announced. Does anybody care about this? Let's just go there.
You said the two magic words, mobile market. Yeah. So
no, this is
absolutely
not even going to cross my mind. Because all it's going to do is going to be like microtransactions, pay to. It's going to be terrible. No.
Yep. Figured. I felt the same way. Bleach and Loki did a crossover cover art for all my anime Bleach fans. The character in question, I don't want to ruin people who haven't seen Bleach, but he has very similarities about being a trickster and being basically a conniving, backstabbing person. So Bleach went and did that cover, which I thought was very creative, having the character look and kind of resemble Loki in Loki's phrase, which Jaren put up the side by side if you're watching this and not listening. But pretty dope. I know Jason number 8, you don't care too much for anime, and I know Jaren, you don't care for that much about anime. You dabble in it too, but I mean, yeah, like you don't care as much. Like I care a lot about crazy anime shit. Like
I could talk about Fist of the North Star. I could talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion. I can talk about
about Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop,
right.
Samurai Champloo.
Any Studio Ghibli movie.
All the Studio Ghibli movies.
Right. But you're not talking the big three, which most people would say Dragon Ball, Naruto, and usually One Piece are the big three.
No, I was having sex when those kids were watching that shit. So
once again,
right.
Why I say he dabbles in it, and
because I'm older.
Once again, dabbling. Yes, but to that point, any thoughts on this? If any, I mean, well, Marvel's already done anime crossovers with X-Men, Wolverine, Iron Man, Blade, I believe, right?
Yeah,
you don't want to leave out anyone.
Manga series back in the early 2000s where they did a lot of the X-Men character. All of their properties were mangaized, and it was actually pretty interesting. Though I don't really care very much for it, but
I like the X-Men and animated. I thought that was pretty dope. Well, especially when they actually got them to use their powers. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
So if they like, I mean, like the best thing about anime right now is that so many people are interested in it. Like when I was, a teenager watching Dragon Ball Z, like I was one of the few people, period, let alone like black people watching anime. And now it's such a huge cultural force that I enjoy that, straight up hood dudes be like, yeah, I'll get down with Dragon Ball Z. So,
well, because everybody fucks with Vegeta and Piccolo. That's why.
So I really enjoy that aspect of it, even though I no longer watch anime personally.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our Loki check-in for this is what episode blah 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 blah. Jason, number 8. What are your thoughts on the Loki? This new episode of Loki or latest episode of Loki?
This was a nail biter, wasn't it? This was crazy. Like so much stuff happened in this episode. Like I mean, I guess we were spoiling things. I guess if you haven't watched this show that came out last week, you should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking Mobius died. Freaking Loki died. Like the Time Lords aren't really real. Oh my! It's like so much happened. It was crazy. I enjoyed every moment of this show over this week. It was great.
Jaren, your thoughts?
I concur. The running into the other Lokis at the very end and seeing all the variations for the first time, or at least the initial 3, and then some of the background that were a little less descript. But I can't wait till Wednesday.
I'm kind of upset there's only going to be 6 episodes for this.
Yeah,
that's the worst part about this is that we're almost done, and it really hasn't been that long.
You think Doctor Strange is going to be in the last episode?
No.
I'm not as high and positive on this episode. I just feel like they just do a lot of shit at us at once, and it kind of was like at this point I was like, okay, like all right, you gave me that. I digested that. Oh, okay, you gave me that. All right, I digested that. Okay, all right, guys. All right, this is one episode. Can we slow down a little bit? Like, I actually was more fascinated by the Loki falling in love with Loki thing that they just completely like set up, and it was like, oh yeah, that's the reason why we found you. Next thing, guys, like we got to keep this train moving. So I kind of like, for me, it was just a lot. I enjoyed it, but it was a lot. It makes me be like, okay, they really just wanted to get a lot of shit out the way. So these last episodes, hopefully, would just be like, we're fucking shit up because they just gave us everything in this episode.
Which begs the question, and we might need to do this in a nerd talk. Is falling in love with your counterpart from an alternate universe, is that really narcissism? I mean, like, they're kind of like you, but they're kind of aren't you particularly.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of what we're trying to look for in mates anyway, is to find someone that is similar enough to you that you all get along. But I don't know. I feel like it's a little weird that they fell in love anyway. It's kind of like incest, but I also feel like it should be fine because it's not like they were raised together or anything like that. Or
we will save that for a nerd talk one day.
Yeah, the age-old question: if you bang a clone of yourself, is it gay or masturbation? It's like
is that the age-old question?
Age-old question.
It's fine. That's what it is. Leave my personal life out of this.
Moving on to Rick and Morty check-in. We had episode 2, and I'll start with you, Jaren. Your thoughts on episode 2 of Rick and Morty?
I mean, it wasn't as good as the first episode, but it was all right. I mean, yeah, I was still I don't know. It was okay.
Jason, number 8.
I think this is one of those episodes. Yeah, it's not as good as the first one, but it's also really, I guess, one of those ones that's supposed to just mess with the audience. Like, we are now like not. I mean, it's basically saying like whatever adventure that we watch, you shouldn't care like if it's our Rick or not, because it doesn't matter. Like none of these Ricks in the families, they're all interchangeable. They're all billions of multiverses worth of people, and they're not only in the multiverse, but in the same planet. There might be several different Ricks running around doing things. I thought the whole escalation and de-escalation of the clones was pretty fun, but it was a fun episode for me. But it's not as good as the first one. It's not going to be a classic.
Yeah, it was like an excuse for them to be like, listen, we're just going to let you kill people as much as you want in this episode, and everybody submit creative ways to kill people, and the best ones will be animated in the episode. Like everybody on staff was like, well, what if they did this? And what if they were toast?
We could have puppet Ricks and straw Ricks and crazy stuffed Leatherface Ricks,
and then having them come around as the squid, aliens, and be like, oh, this is what I would do if I was trying to adapt to this.
I hated it. This episode was trash. The only thing about this episode that was good is that we're finally getting Rick, because I think me and you talked about that, Jason. Like, Rick is a bad guy, and this season is submitting that Rick ain't got all the answers, bro. You ain't got all the answers, Sway. And I do like that part about it, but all of this episode was trash, man. We can move right along, going from there.
And it also, I guess it also says that Rick is totally he thinks he's him as a god, but he's totally fallible. So he's not a god. He's not the best.
Or he is a god, like every god that we've had through history.
And he's just shitty at his job.
Yes. So that's probably a better comparison than anything.
Yeah, he is a god that just like every other guy and just sucks.
Yeah, just not great.
Let's move on. We talk about shittiness. Let's move on. Oh, that shouldn't have been a good intro for it. But let's just move on.
Now you're just going to ruin the whole entire conversation.
On Tomorrow Man. We all had sat down and witnessed Tomorrow Man, the new Chris Pratt vehicle on Amazon Prime Video.
Tomorrow War.
There you go. That's even bad. That's even worse. There you go. I didn't even put the title down wrong, so I'll tell you how much I care about this. So to go ahead and start this off, let's start with a little bit of positivity, which will probably be Jaren. Jaren, please tell us what you thought about Tomorrow War.
Oh, positivity.
I thought you enjoyed this, so that's why I thought we were going to start with you.
When I texted you when I was watching this, you were like, "I'm having fun."
for the initial part of the movie, I was. So you get introduced to his estranged father, played by
J.K. Simmons, man.
Yeah, the incomparable J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Swolson's.
Just doing his best Trump supporter that I think I've seen. Kind of a nut, hates government and likes to build bombs in airplane hangars. I think there's time travel in this movie, and the most unbelievable part in this opening is that there is a combat veteran that isn't emotionally damaged in Chris Pratt's character. He seems
well adjusted.
Seems really well adjusted and fairly normal for a combat
special forces guy.
Yeah, especially someone who was just there to patch people up. So he was always at the worst parts of it. He got his own Futurama arm in real life. I thought that was kind of cool. His little Futurama arm thingy. I don't know about how they approached the moralistic aspects of that, where they definitely didn't let him know what was happening before it was done. I had some questions. Why when they first land in the future and they land in the pool, why does the black marine biologist not know how to swim?
Because he fell from the sky.
Yeah, but he was just in a pool and had to get pulled out. And he
was also weighted down with all his equipment too. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for this movie.
Biologist.
You're right.
Good in water. He hangs out at Tybee Island according to his t-shirt.
But he's also black, so therefore he doesn't know how to swim.
He is the black guy, Jaren. He is the black
dude. That was the most tokenist of tokens on that movie, man.
Yeah. He was funny though. He and Chris Pratt's energy played off each other well. I like their when they were back and forth. I thought they were matching energies, and I enjoyed every time they were talking together. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I enjoyed their back and forth. They had a good back and forth. When they're trying to get the queen out of the hole, motherfuckers need to rewatch Jurassic Park. Put the goddamn cage in front of the hole. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? put the raptor cage in front of the hole and you pull it into the goddamn cage, and you have somebody on top to push the thing down. Don't pull it into the room and hang out with it for a bit and then think about getting in there later. What the fuck? It's bullshit.
Look, the proportions of this war weren't very bright. All right, the people who are carrying out this
clearly. Chris Pratt at this point, I think on his IMDb, on his things that he lists as his strengths as far as acting goes, CGI animal handling should be near the top. I've seen that man wrestle raptors. I've seen that man wrestle white spikes and queens and shit. Now, I mean, dude,
seeing him wrestle Jennifer Lawrence.
That'd be fun. I'd hang out and shit for fucking 100 years with her.
Yeah, she's a fake character, so yeah, I believe that.
They fucked up time travel yet again. There's at the core of it, you send people back in time to fix the future by preparing for it. You don't yank everybody that's going to die and then say, come on with us to a fight that we're probably not going to
no
win.
training whatsoever.
Well, I get, yeah, it would have worked better if there had only been one jump, but they came back, they grabbed every military personnel they could and went back again. Questionable strategy here. And then they came back and they got another group, and then they came back and got another group. At no point are they talking in the past about shit from the future that they can do to fucking stop this before any of this shit goes down. Because time travel is, I mean, if it had only been one jump and the thing had broke and they, and then that was it, you could ride around that a little bit. Again, questionable strategy, but then you don't have people just back and forth in the timeline with new information, but then just deciding not to share it with fucking anybody. His wife figures it out. Nobody else on the planet fucking sorted that the fuck out. Nobody. Whoa, kill the queen immediately. You got her. You got the shit. You're able to get her DNA. Fucking shoot her in the goddamn face. Just bullet. Done. Don't let her call her fucking people to your one special place that is you don't need those people at. Just fucking kill her. There's no point in her being alive. Chris Pratt's a dumbass for jumping off of the ledge after his daughter. What's the plan there? Oh, she's falling and she's about to get eaten by aliens. I'll go too with the one hope for humanity in my fucking hands.
For a very smart guy, he's kind of an idiot. Yeah.
The daddy-daughter bullshit for her, super manufactured, never bought it. I mean, they did not write a good reason for her to have that much hatred and distrust for a man that ultimately she loves and trusts exceptionally, like more than anybody else on the planet.
So much so that she brought him to the future. And purposely picked him out and brought him to the future.
And
I hate your guts, but you're the only one I trust.
And so then they go back. They talk to a politician. They say, we've solved it. He says, go fuck yourself. And at that point, I paused it. I looked at Alex. He was like, I need a drink, but he's not drinking right now. So I just cracked another one. And at 1:46, an hour and 46 minutes in, I have predicted they will employ estranged dad to fly them to Russia. Happy ending with granddad meeting daughter. And then my last note for this movie was nailed it. Exactly what happened.
All right. I guess let me go ahead and get mine out the way because I think I'm a little cooler water than I know Jason's going to. Jason number 8 is going to probably really destroy this. But as always, my quote on this was 30 years from now, this movie still will suck. Pros. Chris Pratt, just his back has to hurt because this in my notes is like Chris Pratt put on a LeBron Jamie-ish or Chris Paulian performance because he's the only good thing about this movie, and that's barely because he's just charming enough to be tolerable. The creature design was cool, but on the same token, on the con is I can't believe these creatures are the ones that took down humanity. So that's insane. The beginning before they showed the creatures was super suspenseful and super fun. Everything until once you first see the monsters, the movie goes completely and utterly to the trash can. And part of the reason it does that is because, and I'm not gonna go over the numerous plot holes. I'm just gonna go with some of the simple things that bother me because I try to give what you give me. You're gonna tell me this loving man left his family? Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, whatever. All right, you give me that. I'll take it. Because you were trying to do this whole symbolism where he left his family and his daughter's giving him a second chance. So maybe he should give his father a second chance that possibly left his family too. That's what they were trying to do. But you know what happened? You know when you jump off a cliff off of the other guys when The Rock and Sam Jackson jumped off the roof to land in the bushes and completely missed everything? That's what this movie did script-wise. It fucking missed everything. It didn't do a good job of correlating that well. It died in flight. They didn't even have enough DC to hit the ground and die. It died mid-flight. So that was terrible. And then my last real big beef with it, because again, I'm not going to point out the plot holes because Jaron did that eloquently for us. My last big beef is like, this movie had selective main character bulleting. When a main character shot a bullet, it seemed to hurt the monster. When all the other jobbers shot the bullets, the monster was just like,
Yeah.
Because you're
I
not
love these bullets. These are great.
Yeah. Like they would shoot him in the arm and it wouldn't work. But once the chick shot him in the arm with a handgun, his arm falls off. And it's like, hold on. None of them could hit the arm with these automatic weapons? Like, it just was selective. Oh, you got to get on the underbelly. But yet, people were shooting them in the skull of their head, and they were like, "Oh, that hurt me, and I'm hurt now." Like, what the like? Stop it! I mean, just give us a bunch of hordes of them, so that when they're taking them down, it's just overwhelming. Don't give me all these people can't hit nobody, and only the main characters all of a sudden can their bullets do great. I mean, hell, and then like let's call it. And I hate it because I saw it coming a mile away. It's kind of my biggest beef with Pacific Rim. Everybody should just carry swords in these evasions. Stop using guns. Because evidently a sword can slice or an axe can slice through these things better than a bullet can. Which, and everybody knows, a bullet has more force than any of those. Okay, all right, sorry. I'm getting upset. I'm yelling. Let me calm down. My point is that it just was not a good movie. And it was trying to be so fun. And I was trying to accept that this was just fun. But when you just have such leaps in logic, it just takes you out the movie. And then you at the point you're like, why am I watching this? And after I finish this, because like you're right, it gets to a point where it should probably end, and it gives you an extra 20, 30 minutes. And I'm like, why am I watching this? But then I end up having to watch Dynasty Warriors later, and I realize, oh, this is why I'm watching this. This is shitty movie week. It must be shitty movie week with this podcast. Anyway.
I love that we're spoiling everyone's podcast.
Right.
Spoiler. All these movies suck. The end. I don't know why you guys are here.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Jason. Your review on Tomorrow War. Not Tomorrow Man, Tomorrow War.
Tomorrow War. Okay. At one point while watching this movie, I was literally yelling at my TV because these characters, especially Chris Pratt's character, is so fucking dumb. Like, pretty much this whole entire premise of this whole entire movie is fucking dumb. Once you discover time travel, you pretty much won your fight because, you know, you have endless possibilities of seeing things back, information back in time to iterate on it. You have 30 years to keep iterating and train and figure this shit out. But for some reason, no one thought of that.
Yeah.
But the most illogical part of this movie for me was in the beginning when they're having a party where everybody's sitting around in America watching the World Cup. Like, and everybody's interested in Brazil and France and America. Like, we don't, and it's not a female World Cup, it's a male World Cup. Like, no one gives a shit. Like,
I justified that because they were white. I just said they're white, so white people do crazy shit like that. So yeah, that's why
no one was drinking an IPA, so they weren't that white. Right? Like, every aspect of this movie was stupid. Like, from them thinking that it's only 50% of the armed forces could go. Okay, that means that of the entire world, that's still, you know, millions of people. So y'all should have been able to handle this. And then you're just like, oh, let's just send regular people and give them guns and hope this works, rather than giving the information to the people of our current timeline and saying, here's all the things we know. Right. Train the kids, train the people, you know, figure this shit out, right? Because we have time travel. And then if it doesn't work, when we invent time travel, we'll send back everything you know to the people back then, and then we'll keep going until we figure this out because we have time travel. It's fucking dumb.
Well, hold on. And then the worst part too that I forgot that I put in my notes, I had it down here, is like, we do realize this movie still ends tragically because all those motherfuckers that did finally come back to the regular present time, they know they die a couple of years down the road. They know they're fucking out of here. So, well, I mean, still going to die.
Not Chris Pratt. He died in a car accident.
Died in a car accident.
I'd be like,
that's why his daughter hates him.
For that month, I'm just not driving.
Well,
Yeah,
again, we assume it's still going to happen. It's like Final Destination. Death is going to eventually catch your ass. If you scheduled to go, you scheduled to go.
One day.
The dude that had cancer, he going to go. Like,
I just say, like, the theory of this, the I guess the theme of this movie, beyond the fact that families deserve second chances, is that scientists are the ones that are gonna rule the day. But every single scientist in this movie is a complete and utter moron.
Fucking
Like,
glue sniffing moron.
Like I don't understand how you were able to get through MIT if you're that stupid.
Nice fucking try.
Like, I guess it's got to be. It should be called White Privilege the Movie, because apparently they got in on on some sort of familiar ties rather than merit. Like, the black characters are sassy black best friend doesn't get a story arc, because of course not. Why should he? I mean, he barely gets a story arc, because at the end, but when he disappears for half the movie and he comes back and he's like, "Oh, I hid." I guess that was supposed to be he needs to redeem himself. But like, you were an untrained person sent into the future to fight monsters. Like, that's a good idea, to hide for 7 days and not die and not do anything they tell you, because they didn't tell you shit. They didn't train you. They handed you a gun and sent you to the future and like, figure this shit out. Like, that's not how shit works. All right.
I will say, and it's just thank God somebody didn't fuck this up. But as soon as they find a spaceship, and I'm like, oh, Alex Kal-El's ship, But whenever they cut into it, I look at him and I go, hold on, they absolutely cannot. These things are animals. You cannot convince me that they are able to travel through the Gulf of
travel through space.
And they had some Prometheus-looking motherfucker as a pilot seat. That wasn't them. And I was like, cool. Okay. Because if they had tried to say that these like essentially dogs were also able to cruise through space, I'd be like, nah. I mean, I was already checked out, but still, nah.
The worst part about this movie is they try to explain like the leaps in logic. They genuinely attempt to explain all the leaps and logics in this movie, but it just makes it even sound stupider. Like, a lot of movies like this would have just like left the hole there and be like, okay, whatever, don't even worry about it. This one was like, oh no, we can't go back in time, or it's a tether. We still all are moving forward in time, so we can't and we just made it, and no one knows what blah 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 blah. But it's like, you still have time travel. There's going to be a point in time, when you create this over again for the past timeline.
And there's no doubt in my mind, if it got to the Russian government would have destroyed that whole thing in one fell swoop. They're like, oh, we want to wait for the UN. What are we? You know what? We spent more time than this movie deserves on it.
Yeah,
let's just move on to the next one, because
it's not even the worst movie on the list.
Right. And I think we all enjoyed the next movie a lot better. But please remember to like, share, subscribe as we go through this. Again, Headcanon Circus. And the next movie on our list, we're going to talk about Good Old America, the motion picture, out from Netflix. So I'm going to go ahead and let Jason number 8 start this off, because I think we all thoroughly enjoyed this a lot more. If anybody didn't know, we're not referring to Tomorrow War. I think we all, as a unison, say go fuck
hard
yourself.
Pass.
Yeah, go fuck itself. Go ahead for America, the motion picture.
So I started watching this because I had no idea what this was about up until like I turned it on. I had nothing going into this. At first, I'm like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is literally what the fuck is this?" And by the end of this, I'm like, "This is the greatest thing ever." This is America, the motion picture, is this acid trip of anti-critical race theory retelling of all of America's history into one like sort of simple timeline where every major American hero existed all at the same time to fight off the British during the Revolution. And it is absolutely anachronistic and insane. It's literally just insanity on the screen, and it's hilarious. It is absolutely like balls to the wall, like laugh out loud, tears in my eyes funny. It's just like I did not like it at first, but at the end I was like, this is the best movie of the year. And it's made in Georgia. It's great.
All right. I'll roll through for this one. Yes. And you kind of took what I was going to say. My notes were, this is a meta, I can't feel my face, crazy ass movie that makes me second guess if I'm pro critical race theory because they should teach this history and all the history books. So let's start off with my cons because I have a lot of pros on that, a lot, but good pros. My con is like kind of said in the middle of the movie, does lose a bit of steam when they're trying to kind of meander to kind of get the running time to fit. The only real con I had is like they made George Washington such a dumbass that it made it hard to believe like he would be, the president. The king of this new country. That kind of bothered me. They should have made him a little. Well, they should have made him a little bit more capable, a little bit more gleaming of leadership, so it could have been at least a small bit viable. That's the only real negative I had because it's like, why would anybody who's around him, except for Sam Adams, follow this goof? Like everybody else should have been like, no, this dude's a fucking moron. Like,
because he was friends with Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln was the leader, and they were like, "Oh, we'll just go on to George Washington."
Oh no, I agree it, but I think it just made him a little bit more capable. I think because he had one capable moment with the One America, like with the Gettysburg Address, like they had a capable moment. Then I'm like, okay, they're trying to lead us into that, and no, he went back to being a complete nincompoop. But besides that, I mean, that's just a beef of mine. I always think that if you're going to put leadership characters, at least give them a reason why people would follow. But all the meta white privilege jokes, all the meta Native American from Geronimo jokes.
You're going to give us the land back, right? Like, yeah, we're totally going to give it back.
Right. And Sam Adams couldn't give a straight face. It's perfect. It's perfect. Even I say down to the little touches like when Martha Washington turns into a Brit briefly, her teeth are all yellowed out. When she turns back American from beer, they go white again. Like even little stuff like that, I think is just beautiful.
When they kept calling John Henry Irons Mr. Smith. It's like,
yeah.
All right, Mr. Smith. It's like, why do you keep calling me that? Well,
you're a blacksmith.
Right, yeah. Don't you understand? Small business owner. That was just great. And then, I mean, the person that steals the show 100% is Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold's character in this
werewolf.
Yes, it's so fucking awesome. No reason for him to be there, but they did it, and it was just amazing. And every time Benedict Arnold was on the screen, I knew some wild shit was about to happen because it just wasn't going to be normal. So I loved it. I loved it. Jaron, your take on it?
I have some notes. Basically, I wrote down my favorite jokes throughout it. I love it when Benedict Arnold initially acknowledges that he's a bad guy and he says, "I'm switching sides." And Lincoln doesn't quite get it, but thinks he's gay, coming out as gay. And so he gives him a big hug. He's like, "Congratulations." And he's like, "No, I'll be fucking rich." He's like, "That's awesome for Rich and you." And he's like, oh, they played that so well. Benedict Cosby Arnold, you bastard.
Yeah, so great.
They made George Washington basically Wolverine. Those cherry trees didn't cut them fucking cells down. He has two like blades of gas-powered chainsaws, by the way, which is hilarious. The animation, when I first started watching it, kind of looks like one of those tragic church animations initially. Like right off the rip, I'm like, oh, where they try to take the very much X-rated King James Bible and then make it for kids. They do those like that, with the long, I don't know, that animation style. But it left it because there was a lot of great camera angles. There's a lot of great artistic choices in it. But initially, I was like, oh no. But it grew on me very quickly, immediately. I do like when he finds out that he's impregnated, George Washington has impregnated Martha, and she's like
literally seconds within having sex with her.
Yeah. Because girl knows. But he was like, "Man, that's all I've ever wanted was a loving family." And her response is, "Ew, gross! You were an orphan." Is my yes. He's never had a family. The Fast and the Furious horse racing scene was phenomenal too, where they're meeting Paul Revere for the first time. Thomas Edison is basically Iron Man. Let's be real. For this old people in the group, that A-Team opening for Geronimo, and it looks like he's on a motorcycle. I was like, it was phenomenal. The Titanic stays hitting shit in this movie. It hits a bunch of shit. There's a bit of a cover up, which is great, but one of the British rules is no toothpaste, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. Sam Adams talks about knowing his boy John Wick, the candlestick maker. Yeah, he's a psychopath.
Yeah, he was trained by him. He was trained by John Wick.
Yeah. Yankee Kong arcade game in the background was phenomenal. Made me laugh. The Back to the Future quote. This is Blue Riff. Follow me for the changes. That entire blacksmith combo. And his shop being called "I'd hit that."
right next to the strip club.
Killer Mike for the win, man.
Killing it. George Washington's constant quoting of John 3:16 and attributing it to quotes that have nothing to do with anything, and they're always different, made me laugh almost every time. I love the Vietnam payoff. We won that fight, you know. Geronimo lost his arm. He lost like 3/5 of an arm.
Right. Oh, it's such a good one. 3/5 rule. Oh, it was so good.
A compromise. Yeah. And there was a Star Trek Earl Grey hot reference in there that I thought was great. Martha's transformation back from a Brit to Lady Liberty was phenomenal. Very reminded me kind of like a somewhere in the vein of Dragon Ball Z meets I don't know what's Sailor Moon, like
Sailor
the
Moon,
circular
Moon
camera transformation. Johnny Appleseed was a motherfucking beast in this, just coming out and growing trees out of motherfuckers. The National Treasure joke, when he gives him the Declaration of Independence back, and he looks at the back, he's like, "There's no map on that." Real disappointed.
We're gonna give all these guns back, right? Like,
I think you mentioned it too, Jaron. Every time they would mention something like in our time, all the characters would be like, "What the fuck is a?"
It's like you must have practiced on the car. What the fuck's a car? Did you read that on the internet? What the fuck is the internet?
Yeah, and then they just breezed past it. It was brilliant.
Let's keep going.
And then I want to say it's a Ghostbuster reference, and maybe I'm just reaching because I'm a Ghostbusters fan. But when she reverses the polarity of the teabag weather changing system by fashioning a backpack with a big gun that shoots a positronic beam out of it,
yeah.
I was like Ghostbusters, maybe?
Yeah,
probably. Let's just say yes.
And, And finally, and I love this. It's so subtle and understated. But I literally, if I busted a gut, George and Martha's kid being named Denzel.
Yes.
Right at the end. Doesn't say it loudly, kind of at the back of a thing, a little Denzel. And that's all it is. And it just,
oh man.
At the end of that journey, I was just like, I feel like
that joke would have been written better for if they put Thomas Jefferson in the movie, but I think Thomas Jefferson got too much heat, so they were like, "Nah, we probably can't put him in here."
Maybe in the sequel, because there are some things we could say about Thomas Jefferson.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, you got to, if you do a sequel, they got to at least get one of the Teddy Roosevelt, and they got to get Andrew Johnson in it, like. Beat a what is it, an assassin down with his cane on like the White House steps. Yeah, he has to be in the next one.
Yeah, no, just from top to bottom, phenomenal all the way.
All right, so I guess we are all recommending this movie. Any dissensions?
If you are an older person, don't watch this movie because you're not going to get the crass humor. But for anybody let's say 40 and under, it'll be great. You're good.
Absolutely. Again, guys, don't remember to like, share, and subscribe. Headcanon Circus. We're here everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iPod, iPlaylists, Google Playlists, everywhere you can find us at. Let's move on along to something I kind of buried the lead on, but we're going to talk about Dynasty Warriors, a movie that Netflix has greenlit from the series, the video game series. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in here because I was going to use the word die to bring up a bunch of adjectives to describe this, like dynamic fight scenes or whatever. But only I left was just the fact that I wanted to die. That I wanted a warrior to take my life for even suggesting for all of us to watch this. Because this was my fault, my suggestion.
You should commit Buku because of this.
Again, and then I actually saw other stuff that I was like, oh, this would have been a lot better, interesting to review than this. But let's just jump right into it. Let me get all the good stuff out of the way. It was some good fight scenes in there. And I think I even text, how could a movie look so beautiful and look so cheap at the same time? Like, when they had natural sets and everything, it looked really good. Then they would jump into CGI, and then it almost felt like they ran out of budget halfway through the movie because the last hour CGI stuff or blue or green screen stuff is completely insane and bonkers and just god awful. But I will say good fight scenes. I also want to say that they did a very good job of interpreting the game's melee style action, because I don't know if you guys remember the game or even played that game. You basically would fight as one big general and be thrown into a battlefield, and you basically just massacre people all the way up until you get to a one-on-one fight, which they did in this one, which I thought was really well done too. It looked like the video game. A lot of the action scenes and their power moves were very reminiscent to the video game. I also remember because I used to play with Lubu, the lightning dude. That was my dude when I used to play. So I see him be like the main bad guy. I was like, oh, that's my dude. Like he a beast too, like in the game. So I thought that was a good transition. The cons, I'm just gonna be real. The first hour of the movie, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had no idea what was going on.
No clue.
Until they got real streamlined and it came together, the kingdoms came together. Yeah. I felt like if I were to rewrite this movie, I just would have did it with the three brothers that were like, lost their kingdom, whatever, and followed them from losing their kingdom to building themselves back up because they end up getting different trades to getting back into the war and then joining the kingdom and just sit it through their eyes. And I think it would have made a lot better sense and been way more streamlined because we could have saw the brutality of the joke-ass king character that was in there that didn't do shit but pretty much just rape Asian women off camera. So, like, it would have been a better transition to see his brutality through their eyes, which would have forced them to get back into the game. And I thought that would have been a better movie, but neither here nor there. The movie was made the way it was made. And also, what the fuck was going on with, like, they had these angles for the Asian women that they were like, tune in for part 2 to know what happens with this. And you guys know how much I hate that shit. I hate movies that just fucking stop in the middle of the movie. Like, oh, that's the end of the movie. You better watch it next time to know what happens. And I'm thinking, dude, somebody thought this movie was good enough to get it next time. That's the bigger problem. That they thought this was good enough to get a part 2. So with all that being said, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys already know where I lean with it. Let's start with Jason number 8. What was your thoughts on Dynasty Warriors that I made you guys suffer through?
So I only hate you for about an hour because an hour into this movie, I turned it off because I was like, I don't need to subject myself to this bullshit anymore. Like, I'm a grown ass man. I can do whatever the fuck I want with my time. So
I didn't know that was an option. Shit.
So like when I'm watching this movie and like they get the three brothers, or I don't even know their brother. I mean, like, I don't want to denigrate anybody's culture or anything like that, but like, I didn't even know they were brothers. They kept saying they're brothers, but they all have different names. I don't know if that's...
Oh, no, they weren't real brothers. They were real brothers.
I didn't understand any of this movie whatsoever. Like when they were walking to the forest and then the lady, and they come into this blue place and the ladies like starts telling them about cow. And then they go into a flashback, and then that flashback goes into a flashback, and then that flashback goes into another flashback. And then I realized she's still telling them the story of this, and it's been like 35 minutes. And I'm just like, I'm done. I don't need to watch any more of this because I'm already confused as to what's going on. I just need to research Han Dynasty, ancient Chinese culture of the Han Dynasty to understand any of this. But I don't have that kind of time on my hands.
You don't like the flashback inside the flashback inside the flashback? No. Like the dream inside the dream inside the dream inside the dream?
Inception was dumb enough as it was.
If you finish the movie,
But like
it comes together.
Jason wants to say that the graphics are all right, and sometimes like I thought this looked like a bad Power Rangers TV show. Like I saw like later versions of Power Rangers have done better with this. Like that's what I thought. Like this is like who spent money on this? Like this is so terrible.
Why do they still have a job?
I couldn't get through it. It was just like I was confused as to why these guys at first were fighting for Lao Bu or whatever his name is, and then also like they were fighting against and I understand the reason why they did this. It's jacked up, but like in the beginning they're fighting against rebels and they go and slaughter all these rebels who are trying to fight for peace and love. And, but they're fighting for the Han Dynasty, and they're like, we got to save the Han Dynasty. And I get it because this movie was produced in China, and China, you got to be all about the government, even though the Chinese government overthrew their last imperial dynasty. But it's like, Like, you guys are supposed to be the good guys. You just killed all these dudes who just wanted to live in peace. And then you saved the dude that was getting like swarmed by all these other guys who ends up being the bad guy in the first place. And then freaking Cow was right there with the knife that could cut through steel to kill the dude, and he doesn't. And the guy's like, "Oh, that's fine. Now let's just kill him anyway." And none of it made any sense to me. Don't watch this movie. Just don't. I was never a Dynasty Warriors fan anyway, but like, I'm not going to be after.
Jaren, your thoughts on Dynasty Warriors?
Oh man, well that man makeup is real. For starters, man, they were all wearing some serious fucking eyeliner in this movie, some guy liner.
Yeah. Pillows in their stomachs and shit.
Oh yeah, that one fat guy that clearly is not a fat guy. I was like, oh,
Right.
yeah.
It's like, y'all got fat dudes, y'all can use them.
Yeah, no. Lubu's 12-inch headdress definitely compensating for something. Just saying. When Lubu chased Sao out of the Capitol, motherfucker drifted that horse around a corner.
They were taking horses.
It was amazing.
No,
also, and I know this is gonna sit in your fucking mind for a bit, Jason number A, but I'd say better scene than the speeder bike racer in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I'm fighting you next time I see you. We are throwing hands.
It was better with the trees.
I cannot let that.
It looked more fun.
Cannot let that stand.
I mean, it sucks that you said that he was old dude was raping those girls, because I just thought that was like his harem. Because I'm sitting there watching this movie. I've never been more jealous of a fat warmonger.
He stole the harem from the prince.
Well, the harems that were there around
Prince
him,
shouldn't have had a harem. He was like 6 years old.
But yeah, it was the harems that were around him. Yes, but it was a scene in there where she was like dressed in red in a carriage. And obviously she didn't want it.
Right.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm breaking you off on this.
But she promised herself to Lubu. I don't think he knew that he was stealing his boss's woman.
Oh no, he didn't know that at all. Probably.
Yeah. A lot of great aerial photography. It's almost like this country is responsible for the best drones on the planet. It's weird. I know. There was a lot of it, and they leaned pretty fucking hard on that DJI, man. The fighting for me, a little too Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm not a fan of wire work where it makes them look lighter than air. I like for my superpowered beings to interact with the world around them with the weight that they actually have. I like it when somebody that's strong or can fly, when they run somebody into a wall, I like to see the wall buckle behind them a little bit. I love a lot of traditional Asian fighting and filmmaking styles, but I lean more in the camp of like Jackie Chan and stuff like that, where there's consequences and people they use the string work to maybe amplify a jump a little bit, but it's still in your mind. You can still get your head around the realism. Some of this stuff was a little too floaty for my taste. And I know it's traditional.
Let's use somebody else. Let's not use Jackie Chan, because nobody's Jackie Chan.
I'm not saying we're setting the bar all the way at the top, but
I want to say he's in a whole nother like stratosphere of like things when it comes to fight choreography and action. Like we'll probably never see anything like that in our generation. Like nobody will be as good as him in that shit. Like it's
also would just pay people just to take a kick.
Yeah,
like, you're gonna get kicked. Here's $30 more or whatever.
Right. Like, so it looks fucking real. It is real. Yeah.
You about to get hit, all right? So like, I don't know what you want to do about it, but I'm gonna hit you for real, and we're gonna sell this.
But point taken, Jaron. I know what you're trying. What you're saying is like you want something that looks real and has the weight of real physics than the drifty, floaty. I can sit on a tree branch with 1 foot. And then it just leans like horse drifting.
That horse drift looked like it had the most weight of any of it. So you dipped out early, Jason number A. So you missed a scene where they are running down the face of a waterfall and fighting.
Yeah, that was tight.
Down the face of a waterfall and fighting.
I don't need to see this.
Yeah,
that was tight. I mean, the CG with all it was wonky, but it was tight because what they were trying to do, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, and you got it. Yeah.
It
could have been done better, but you understood. They did enough so that you could follow along with it. The there is no horse on this planet more loyal than fucking Lubu's horse, man. He was the only horse that even comes close is Roach from the Witcher series, because that motherfucker is always with your ass. But this horse was coming out of nowhere to get landed on. He was like lining up the shots and shit. Like, got you. Right. Let's go, fam. We out. Like, I was like, what? All his lightning effects were flat at the end because I think they ran out of money. But I did one last pro. I did appreciate the shades of gray in the characters. Sao. He starts out with the noble ambitions, makes some mistakes along the way, and ultimately goes down a darker path. But maybe there's redemption in his future, because again, the movie didn't fucking end. It just says we'll see you next episode. So
yeah.
And continues. As soon as that happened, and this was Jason's recommendation, I was like, oh,
yo, I was hot.
But yeah, all said and done. Would I recommend this? No. It's long. And it is needlessly confusing. Understandably, when you get to the end, you understand why they were trying to create such a sprawling epic with so many people and where it all kind of comes together. And it does give you kind of a worldview of all the different parts that are vying for their individual reasonings for what they want in this story. But no, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, it's slow. The fighting's just okay. The CG is questionable at best. Yeah. Well, you didn't finish Jason number 8, so we know that you're saying no. I will say that if you're a fan of this genre of shit, still saw you, because even Jaron, I think you had suggested something, and I was like, and it's all in that same ilk where I was like, I'm just not a fan of these genre-esque kind of films, but I thought, I played the video game, so maybe I'll relate more. Nah, I'm not here for it, man. We can skip out on that. Going on to something that we all probably did enjoy a little bit more, if not a lot more. HBO Max came out with a movie, No Sudden Move. It has a huge star-studded cast, so I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in there. Jason number 8. Let's start with Jaron. Jaron, what were your thoughts on No Sudden Move on HBO Max? This is probably the thing I had the least amount of notes on, because the movie is fucking good. I only have 3 notes. It was slow paced, but it kept me interested. Like, the characters were deep enough, and there was something there that even when there wasn't like it didn't feel like a lot of modern day movies have big fight sequences or big conflict points, and then like a very thin amount of story that strings them all together. Just get me from this sequence to this sequence to this sequence so that we can end the movie. This didn't feel like that. It felt the characters felt very lived in. There were some interesting choices all the way around. They killed Kieran Culkin way too soon. I fucking love that
best
dude.
Culkin.
I know, the best Culkin. Yeah, I absolutely love that dude. And it is a dramatic movie. It is not a funny movie, but I got one laugh out loud moment when near the very end, the rich guy at the top is talking about how Matt Damon. Yeah, Matt Damon. I couldn't think of his name for some reason. Matt Damon basically explains to the black guy in America, in old America, that he changed his name. He took the Stein off his name because it was a bit of a setback. And then you just see old dude look up and go, "Oh yeah, Stein, a real setback." I'm sorry, setbacks, my dude. Oh, I thought that was phenomenal. I laughed out loud at that. I was like, damn, great movie, great suspense, great actors. Yeah, highly recommend.
All right, Jason, number 8, the Duke of all nerds. What are your thoughts?
Dude, Steven Soderbergh knows how to make a heist movie, man. He does.
Oh my God, yes.
I don't care what Rick and Morty says about heist movies. They're fun. They are intriguing, and they have a way of limiting plot holes and like leaps in logic a lot, because usually everything's explained at the end anyway. But the best part about this movie for me is basically that it totally just kind of explains systemic racism. Like, Matt Damon gives his speech, is like, I don't care about this money. It's just money to me. Like, y'all are fighting all hard for this money, and I'm just going to get it. And it's just going to come back to me. Doesn't even matter to me that you've done all this. Like, one whit. Because this system was designed for me, and I don't even have to wake up in the morning to be better off than you are. And it's just like, yeah, like like these dudes have been scheming and plotting and to get this money, and at the end of it, all of it comes back to Matt Damon. All of it, like plus more money than he started off giving away. Like he ends up on top because the system was exactly designed for him to win, and that just like damn. But I'm glad that Don Cheadle's character kind of had a finale that was, I guess, satisfying for me. Benicio del Toro did not have the same, but it was great. I just like everybody was double crossing everybody, and it was just so fun to see like people get their comeuppance at the end of each little segment. So yeah, it's a great little movie. It's fun. It's it's a little slow, but it's a slow burn. It builds up to a bunch of cool little things happening. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, man. I got my notes too for it as well. Nobody moves, and this was beautifully shot. If you know the reference that I'm going with, it like you said, like he can make a heist movie, but beyond that, it's the subtle things that I enjoy. I know you guys go on your animation kick and camera style kick. So me, it's just a novice that takes things in. When I notice things that shot wise makes me feel a certain way, I always want to commend it. Like if you notice in all this movie, anytime they're with a doorway, behind a doorway, going into a doorway, around a doorway, they get really, really small to amp up the tension. So you don't really know what's in front of them or behind them. It like that's done on purpose because the whole movie is showing you, we don't know what all the steps are going on in front, and you damn sure don't know if something from behind is going to get you because of all the moves that are being made behind the scenes and around them. So I thought that was a great choice of how to film it because it's kind of a section of how the film or how the whole movie's kind of written and produced. Another pro I like about it, and this is something that is very, 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 very hard to do. I always call it for Martin times for people, because when I say this, people relate to this easier. I call it the John Wick effect. Before John Wick even lifts up a finger, you know how much of a badass John Wick is. And it's sold to you believable enough that when he does become a badass, you expect this. So you don't have to do all the backstory with John Wick. You just have the setup and This movie does a great job of that because you don't know any of these characters' backstory. And you get tidbits of it. And every time you get a little tidbit, it adds more color to the character and their motivations. It adds more ability to understand why they think or want to move the way they move. Especially with Don Cheadle's character, every little tidbit you get from, you find out about him getting out of jail. You find out when he goes with the homie that was trying to help him. He's like, look, man, I've been clean since, you went in. I'm trying, like, all those little things. When he goes visit his old lady and you hit a baby in the back and
possibly like, his baby.
Yes, like it's so much things that
and
layer
pissed
his
off
motivation.
Yeah.
Right.
Was
that her dad or was that her?
Yeah, it felt like it was her dad.
I felt like it was her dad too. That's what I
thought
too.
Maybe
when
it
like,
might have been her current husband, but I don't know.
Either or, but it's so
yeah.
I think it felt like it was her dad because the conversation he had with him was very like
cordial.
I know you, you know me. Like, don't come around here getting no more current. He like, yeah, I wouldn't think of it. Like, so, but like it's all those little things that sets up the characters that's so very hard to do because it makes you now you're rooting for these characters, but we don't know if they're good guys or bad guys. We don't really know.
They're all bad guys.
Every last one of them is a bad guy. Except, like John Cheadle's a bad guy with a little honor because he didn't want to just murder his family
and his head on
well, neither did Ronald. Benicio del Toro's friend.
He straight up tried to sell out like Don Cheadle real fast.
Yeah.
Well, again, because it's all for this pursuit of money. We know money makes everybody evil at that point.
Right.
But it's just a lot of things in there that just I felt like the character development, because we talk about it's a slow burn, but I feel like the more you get into the movie, the more you start learning about the characters, which in turn makes you get more into the movie as it steps along. So I thought that was just masterful writing, but masterful filming as well, how they film the shots on there. I did enjoy Don Cheadle's attempt at the raspy voice. I thought that was kind of cute, but it does come in and out sometimes. He did kind of like have it. In some scenes, it was like, oh no, that's just Don Cheadle now.
Right.
But
that shit hurts. I can't talk like this a lot.
Right. I respect it. The only cons that I had with it, it's just a con for me. I don't think it's a con for anybody who likes it. I haven't seen a lot of heist movies probably in the last couple of years. So for me, watching this heist movie, you really got to be into it. You got to this isn't one of those movies you put on with your cell phone in your hand.
Yeah,
and I want to tell people, and I only say that's a con because in the era we live in now, a lot of people don't sit down and watch a movie anymore. A lot of people do other shit while a movie's on and then go, "Oh yeah, I saw that movie."
You're different, Jaron.
Right. Like a lot of people don't do that, so that's why I'm saying my only con is like this ain't made for the casual movie watcher that's going to be like, "Hey, I'm texting such and such while I'm watching it." Like you got to be sitting down and being like, I'm going to take 2 hours and just be here. And I only put that as a con because, again, this new era of movie watching, nobody really likes to do that anymore. That's
you actually have to watch this movie, everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody's like, well, that's crazy as they listen to us on their cell phone. As
soon as you see Steve Soderbergh's name, you put your fucking phone down. You're like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, we got to be on the point on this one.
Yeah, he's gonna let us know what's happening, but he's gonna be subtle about it. And we got to keep.
Also, Brendan Fraser, he let himself go.
Yes,
he broke his back or something.
Yeah, he broke his back. Couldn't work out as much. So like, he looks like 80. And I know he's like our age.
Yeah, right.
He's like 31.
I blame the Mummy franchise for it. Good thing they paid him handsomely for it, though.
Yeah,
which is a whole other discussion.
All sorts of double crossing and people with their alternative motives and their own schemes going on, and they all fail because someone else is scheming it. It's so great.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, and I guess another. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, but just because I felt like the ending credit scroll shows this was like kind of quasi based off true story thing. I thought that kind of deflated a bit now because then it made me want to I didn't look it up, but I can see a lot of other people want to be like, well, I want to know how much of this movie was true. So
I gotta do research. Oh,
so for me, I feel like you could have left. Yeah. Like I feel like they could have left that out and it would have been fine because now I know it's gonna be a group of people that are gonna be like, oh, see, this whole movie's bullshit. I don't need, and then it's gonna be like, really? You just watched?
No one died. Get the catalytic converter coming out.
right. Then you just mad because they didn't do a real story. So. But anyway, neither here nor there. I think we are probably unanimous on this one too. We all are suggesting this one. Thumbs up.
Yes.
W.
Especially for people who enjoy cinema. If you're just like, I go to the movies to go to see flashing lights, you might not like this movie. But if you were a Fast and Furious fan, you might not like this movie.
Don't do him like that. Don't do him like that, Jason. Don't do him like that.
But the rest of us,
remember, guys, to like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and Anchor FM under Headcanon Circus. Let's go ahead and jump to one of the other movies we reviewed for this week. Heavy movie week. We didn't really do any shows. Heavy movie week. Summer of Soul on Hulu is basically taking place on the quote-unquote Black Woodstock 1969 in Harlem. They put together a live show and had probably all the premier Black acts at that time and era on the stage. Nina Simone, Stevie Wonder. I mean, we go through the list. The only person that probably didn't show up was the Jackson 5. Right?
The Family Stone.
Yeah.
Can I just say, finally a found footage movie that delivers on the promise of the Blair Witch trailer.
That is actually true,
real and compelling. It didn't end with a bunch of teenagers staring in a corner. It was awesome.
Right. So because we got to start with blackness on this one, so we're gonna go Jason number 8. What are your thoughts on Summer of Soul?
Thank you for acknowledging my blackness. That means a lot to me. I was talking to Jaron about this earlier before the show started. I really enjoy this because a lot of this music is music that my parents played when I was a kid. I don't know if you got this, but every Saturday morning, a lot of those songs are being played while you're waking up. So I really enjoyed the music part of it. I really enjoyed the history part of it. What I guess makes me kind of sad and or angry is a lot of the stuff that they are saying in this movie and in this documentary really, are still the same things we are saying today. This was 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
Yeah.
And literally the exact same words coming out of these people's mouths are the exact same words, my brother is saying when he's out there protesting in downtown Atlanta. Legitimately the last And it's sad that, yeah, we've made some changes, we made some progress. Now, black music is not like this underground thing anymore. It's actually like probably the prevailing culture, which is also kind of sad because people don't really like to give other people their credit. But
I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok is a living example of that right now as we speak.
Yeah. So it's sad that, although things have changed, they haven't changed that much. And that's what really gets me about this movie. I was telling Jaren this little anecdote. When desegregation hit my mom, she was a senior in high school. So her senior year in high school, she went to a pretty much an all-white school for her last year of high school, which sucks. You leave all your friends behind to go to another school, and they didn't want her to be there. She suffered through that because she thought, she was making progress. And you find out, 40 years later, the high school she went to is all black. And it's like, why is that? Because segregation never really went away. It just changed the motivation. And all that hard work and all that strife that she went through didn't amount for shit, And like all these things that happened, Martin Luther King dying, Malcolm X dying, John F. Kennedy dying, Robert Kennedy dying. We're still in the struggle. We're still doing it to this day, 50 years later. And it's like all those people and, non melanated people out there will say, well, that was a long time ago. It's like those people are still here. My mom is still alive, grandparents, people who are spitting in people's faces. They're still here. They're still making decisions. They're still in fucking Congress, So it's like you say, oh, it's a long time ago. Y'all should get over it. And like, no, this is not a long time ago. This is like
our current president was a segregationist. Like,
yeah.
to put that in perspective for people.
So like, it's great to see like this moment of black joy. These great like, old school acts. Pouring on music that basically that was definitely my childhood growing up. But it's also like disheartening for me to like say that, the things they're talking about is still the same shit. It's a different day. Now we got cell phones instead of 8 tracks.
I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna let Jaren go last because I feel like Jaren will actually give more to the movie present because I think Jason number 8 is kind of hitting where my mind went when I watched this. So this movie made me happy, proud, and pissed me off all in the same feeling. And that is literally the existence of being black in America right there.
Yeah.
And
you're
that's
happy,
what it
you're proud,
was.
you're pissed off.
Yeah. And one, I'm mad that how am I just finding out about this now through a documentary? This is something that should have been talked about. You have the biggest black acts, which now in our era are some of the biggest musicians of all time in one spot doing this show. This should have been known through that should have been taught in every Black History Month. Anytime we have a music class, that should be taught. And even I'm telling my wife, and she's like, well, but I'm like, no, not in white people. I'm talking for black folks. Why aren't black folks teaching this to each other? To be like, hey, like you need to watch or you need to hear the footage they have on this. Like they filmed everything. You like this if you watch this, they have the footage of this whole concert. So it wasn't even like you were grabbing footage from Joe Blow to happen to have a recorder and you had the.
This was supposed to air on TV and it didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't.
They recorded this, a professional cast and everything. And even some of the shots they had of Dr. King that I had never really seen before, they were showing. So they pulled a lot of places and did this. The interviews they did from people, like Jason said, like these people that were talking in these interviews, they're like in their 60s and 50s, and they're talking about this event and when they were kids. And like Jason said, like I grew up on a lot of this music, so I'm just singing it and enjoying it all the long while. But it's hurtful to almost. Not gonna say almost, because like I said, I have to when I start talking about race things, I have to stop prefacing it to make white people feel comfortable. I need to just talk about it as the reality of it is. It's hurtful because you're burying American history because it's black. And it is very, very hurtful because that is huge. That is a show of sign that, hey, black people got together in a spot from what we saw, no violence, no fighting, no stabbing, no shoot, all the shit they like to say when we get together, no looting, none of that. But you don't want to talk about that. But I guarantee you, if a Joker would have went on a shooting spree up in there, we would have known about this incident for the rest of our lives about this. So you intentionally are burying American history because it's associated with blackness or brownness or whatever you want to call. And it really sucks and it's hurtful. It captured that era amazingly. It talked about the changes in hairstyles from their parents to them, going to the natural look versus the presentable permed and hot comb look from their parents. And that was something crazy to even talk about.
And it's the very same thing that's still going on to this day, because they're saying, like, back when they were starting doing the afros, you know, the older generation's like, oh, that's silly. You know, I don't see why you're wearing your hair like that. And nowadays, people are still like, this is how our hair grows. This is how our hair is. Like, why we are going through these hoops to change the way our hair grows out of our head. Like, we're still having that conversation.
What is it like?
50 years later.
Some states have to do with the crown rule so that you can like have dreads and things like that because they would look at that as not professional. Like it's crazy. Like you said, the same things are going on, but going even further, it's crazy to see all of that Black unity on display, because what people don't want to talk about in our communities is that for all the fracturing that it is in there, and I think a lot of our fracturing comes from the fact that our culture influences pretty much all of the mainstream. So we're always under a microscope with our culture. And so they like to point out the flaws in our culture, but people in our culture give the most than any other culture. I mean, if you name any Black athlete, they got some kind of fund, some foundation, something that's giving money to communities, but we don't talk about it. If you talk about, like, you can go down the list. If you talk about when it comes to funding our communities and giving back to our communities, we do that more than any other community. The problem is that we don't circulate our dollar very well in our communities because we don't own nothing in our communities. Yeah. That's the real issue, is ownership. And I'm looking at this documentary and I'm seeing all these Black kings and queens that are taking and empowering themselves because they don't got to do this concert. I'm pretty sure they probably didn't even pay them a lot, if anything, to do this concert. This concert was like all about
people on stage. I don't know how any of them made money.
Right, exactly. This concert was probably purely about Black people getting together, uniting themselves, especially after Dr. King died, especially after Malcolm X died, like, and coming together and say, hey, we want to feel good. And that goes to my last point. Music is so synonymous to the Black struggle and for Black pride and for Black joy. It's almost bonkers, because when I heard those songs, and I'm pretty sure, Jason, you can attest to this, it brought you back to the very moment you probably first heard that song. What you were doing as a kid when that song played, what you were feeling, what your mother was feeling. Like, exactly. Like, it brings you back to it, because everything around, especially in that era, because oppression was way more flagrant and vulgar back then, where ours, we still have it, but they try to code word it a little bit more for us now.
But it's not race, it's class. It's just the poor people that they're getting.
Right. Right. The ghetto queens. Yeah. So they try to code it so well now in our era, but back then it was more obligatory and in your face. The biggest relief we always had was the ability to come together and party, and wherever we did when we came together, music was always one of the vital things involved. Music and food were the most vital things involved. And that showed me right there when I was watching it. I'm like, man, like, this is so ingrained in our culture and ingrained in what makes us happy, what makes us feel good about ourselves, what makes us want to get up the next day and go to this job with these racist ass people that we don't really rock with, but we going out of our community because that's the best paying job we can get, and we deal with it. Because as soon as we get home, what is your mom's or your grandmama? They throw on some music or they put on the radio. They do things that inspire joy and happiness within us. And it's just so crazy to me to think, like, all of these artists and all the artists that, especially back then and even still today, most of what they're doing is pretty much promoting self-pride and energy and perseverance and all that into ourselves every single day. That goes even back to the slave songs in the fields when they would sing to inspire, to give purpose, to uplift. Music has been a part of us since the day from the day we were created out of God or mud or whatever you want to say to the moment now. And that's a beautiful thing when I watch that, to see. I love when they span the crowd and just to see the people grooving, and some of them in their three-piece suits, hats on, three-piece
or in their leather vest with no shirt on.
right. In the middle of Harlem in the dead of the summer in the heat, and they are dressed to the night, and it just made me feel good, because it's like, you know what? They here just because they want to feel good. We want something to release the tension that we feel walking through the world in the streets every day, and music is an integral part of that. And it was a beautiful thing, man. Like, I have no cons about this. I don't care what race or persuasion you are. This is American history. Go check it out. And if you want to watch American Emotion Picture and then follow it up with this as a palate cleanser, go for it, because I think that works very well, because both of them are now officially my history. So I'm taking it there. But I guess, Jaron, what were your thoughts on it? What did you notice? What you see? What you like, dislike, etc.?
Well, yeah. So I figured you guys were going to take this opportunity to kind of talk about like personal thoughts and things like that. And while I'm definitely an outsider looking in at all of this, I thought I'd just point out things that kind of lighten the mood. That poor man watching Stevie Wonder to make sure he didn't jump off of his chair. Fucking, oh my God.
Salute to him.
Yeah. Unsung hero. Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah. I was like, man, that dude looks stressed to hell and back. And Stevie, he is up on that chair, that foldable chair, and he is jumping. He is feeling the music. He's feeling the vibe. He is all the way in. And that dude is just like, please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. That was great. Stevie Wonder on drums. I mean, I know the man can play piano. He can destroy a drum kit. Mm-hmm. I was wildly impressed with that whole thing right at the beginning. B.B. King. I didn't know that Marty McFly played the exact same guitar in Back to the Future as B.B. King rocks on stage. I thought that was pretty dope. I actually paused it and went and Googled the picture from Back to the Future. I was like, oh no, that's exactly the same red, same exact carves in it and everything. I thought that was pretty wild. I felt the emotional thing from the fifth dimension, talking about how they weren't black enough for the black community and people didn't know they were black, and so they were sometimes a shocking. Like I was actually talking to Jason about this earlier. Where we being someone who grew up in Ireland but then came to the States, I now. My Irish doesn't sound as Irish enough for Irish people when I go home, and when I get too drunk or I talk with my family and then it comes out here in America, I don't sound American enough for Americans. So I get the idea, and so being caught between two worlds is an emotional that's an emotional touchstone. I think for anybody, regardless of race or past. I'm pretty sure everybody on this planet has been in a scenario where they've been caught between two worlds of some degree or another. So that was pretty impactful. The gospel section was a bit of a slog for me. I'm famously an atheist, and I think that I wanted more pop and more awesome music. They sandwiched it well, but man, they stayed on that gospel section for a long time, and I get it. But for me, I was just like, oh, please be done. And then man touched down on the moon during this. And
no
they shredded that ass. They shredded that ass for that.
So all of a sudden, on like the fifth weekend of this amazing event, you've got like CNN reporters coming in like, well, sir, what do you think about the moon landing? And the reactions they spanned every spectrum of it, but the best reaction is one dude smoking a cigar. Black man wants to go back to Africa.
It was Red Fox.
Wants to go to the moon. Was that Red Fox? That wasn't Red Fox.
Yeah, it was Red Fox. Yeah, it was Red Fox. Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay. Black man wants to go back to Africa. White man wants to go to the moon. I'm gonna stay in Harlem with the Puerto Ricans and have a good time.
Or Mom's Baby, hit him with the I was on there too. I told him drop me off in Baltimore. I was like, that's
oh shit! I would have kept going. Around to Richmond or something.
But yeah, they did pay the people. The police, the NYPD refused to do security, so they had the Black Panthers step up and provide security. Some of those kids look young as hell, but they were there to keep the peace. Although it didn't look like much peace needed keeping. Everybody was there to have a good time. I love that. It is a tragic tale in that they the cameras they were using back then, those were professional grade camera, big as hell, on big expensive cranes. The sound recordings they were doing were proper sound recordings. I mean, the sound in it is fantastic as well. And the fact that somebody put money up for that equipment rental and or owned the equipment, but then, filmed it probably on the cheap, if not for free, assuming they were going to be able to sell the footage to somebody and couldn't find a buyer. That fucking sucks. So at the time,
hopefully they got paid now because Hulu got it. So, and I think Questlove is the one. Hopefully they got this got money
to throw the thing in the first place. They had to have like the support of the Mayor of New York at the time, and
wildly groovy dude, right?
Yeah,
tall, motherfucker.
Which is like, it's always funny when you think about this, but like it used to be back in the day, like you had our two-party system had like, there were assholes on both sides, and but they could work together because you all had kind of like a same idea sort of way, because you had conservative Democrats and you had liberal Republicans, and you had liberal Democrats and conservative Republicans, and they worked together ish in a way because you had people of similar thoughts on both sides of the aisle. Whereas nowadays it's like you're either a red communist or you are a fascist racist, and there's like no in between. And like you're definitely not like going to be like, oh yeah, that guy has some good ideas over there. Hey, let's see what he's talking about, and let's help him out and see if we can get this bill passed. Like, no, it's like, you want to do what now? You want to provide health care? Fuck you. Like, this will help your constitution. No, fuck you and fuck your. Like, I just read something about Matt Gaetz had said, we're going to send Nancy Pelosi back to her filth in San Francisco. It's like, why are we thinking like that? Like, you're thinking people from a certain city. It's just like, stop. Just stop.
Yeah. Well, we can all agree Matt Gaetz is a child rapist, so we don't really
and
know
piece of shit. Sex trafficker. Piece of shit.
Yeah,
child rapist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of pieces of shit, and I'm not going to touch the child rapist thing, but I mean, yes, they are facts. The trailer for Karen came out. Yay! Karen's everywhere. You officially got your own movie. I sent you guys the link to review the trailer for Karen. Let's go ahead and start in reverse order this time. Jaron, your thoughts on the trailer for Karen?
Go ahead, Jaron. Who rides a Karen?
I'm down to watch it. It looks great. I was joking earlier with these guys because I was like, why haven't I heard of this movie? And then me and Alex are watching it, and the first thing comes up is like BET Motion Pictures or whatever. I was like, oh, that's probably why. Definitely hasn't been advertised to me. But
not on CBS.
Yeah, it's not Star Trek.
Caucasians be sitcoms.
Yeah. Hey man, Kim's Convenience is a national treasure. You calm down.
We could talk about that. There's some controversy around that, but anyway, go ahead.
It looks great. The person playing the titular Karen character has a very punchable face, and the people that the protagonists in the story that are going up against her are very affable and likable types. And the whole aspect of the, I guess, brother being some like redneck ass backwoods Georgia cop. Also, it lends like a Karen. You can undo a Karen pretty quick. I mean, just one punch to the right, just here to get her in the throat. You don't have to hear that dumb bitch ever again. But when she has a brother that's a cop, that's two-time, like they're both coming at him, then there's problems because someone that doesn't care about an oath they took and is in a position of authority is a dangerous fucking thing. So it looks great. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I know they won't do a better job than Jordan Peele, but it looks like they're at least giving it a go.
Let's never compare a BET original movie to anything Jordan Peele does. Don't even compare that to Key and Peele. The Duke of all nerds. What are your thoughts on Karen, the Karen trailer?
Well, trigger warning, man. That's the scariest thing I've seen all day. I mean, as I think Jason can understand this as well, as being, fathers of biracial children. Ain't nothing scarier than a white woman.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think I'm gonna watch this movie because I'm already scared. I'm already like, this is just gonna be triggering, and I'm gonna hit some PTSD. Like, it's funny that they made this though. I hope people do watch it and like make it a success. I might not be the one to watch it, but I hope someone else can get it. My first reaction is they moved out of the metro area. They didn't move to like Sandy Springs or someplace. They moved to Winder or something like that.
Yeah. They moved in deep Georgia, deep Georgia.
Because this is Atlanta, man. They black rich folks everywhere. so they must have moved out to like Clark County or something.
Or Cobb. We can get a DUI.
Or Northern Cobb County or Forsyth.
Yeah.
They must have moved to Forsyth, certainly. So that's the only unbelievable part to me. It's like they can't be somewhere in the metro area. That's got to be like, Ackworth or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I saw it, and I laughed hilariously and said, I have to show my white wife this because this is great. But I'm right there with you, Jason number 8. Like, that old Chris Rock joke where he's like, man, I walk into my house, I got a bag next to the door, waiting for the real owner sometimes to come home and be like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, nope, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's how my relationship is. Like, I'm just waiting for the moment she wake up and be like, am I married to you? What was I thinking? Like, I figured it would happen eventually. Let me go get my bag. But yes, when I watched it, I was like, man, like they have captured the Karen-ness of a Karen very well. And I know it's gonna be some of these white people like, oh, I'm not racist, and this is just over dramatization. Nah, it's what you're thinking. We get it. we know exactly what you're thinking because you thinking not probably in the terms of how Karen acted, but in the terms of one way or another. And what I say by that is like, she's like, oh man, I wonder how they can afford this house. Like, yeah, she says that, but you will say it differently and go, I wonder what they do. Yeah, that's saying the same shit because that guy that moved in next to you that's white, you probably didn't care about what he did and how he got that home.
Oh, Tom,
but you're probably thinking it. Yeah, you're probably thinking because you're wondering if he's an athlete or a rapper or some kind of entertainer because that's the only time a black person can move in a good house in a good neighborhood, preferably.
I mean, but to be honest, to move out of East Point, he got to be like an athlete. I don't know how he made it out of East Point unless he was an athlete or rapper or something. I don't know. Maybe he's a doctor. I don't know.
So yes, we they do it in different ways. Like, oh yeah, your trash can is 3 inches of like, bitch, like stop. Like, don't tell me about my trash can. It's fucking trash. Like, if it ain't bothering you, it ain't bothering me, it ain't bothering nobody. Like, mind your business. And that's the problem. That's what Karen's issue is. Karens cannot just mind their fucking business. And why they can't mind their business? Because they're usually racist and miserable with their own life and probably fetishize wanting to be with a black guy, but it's too icky for them to go that far. So they got to harass black people to make them feel better about their own selves. It is okay, Karens. You're fine. You're usually living in a very well-to-do area, in a very well-to-do place, and situation that many black people will love to be in. You're okay to have 1 or 2 of us join. We're not going to have cookouts and have Timberlands and kick in your door and shoot up the place. Trust me. When we get that far out, we know where we are. And white people do not play with us. We know what we up against. Like, trust us. We're not trying to do none of that shit. And even if we do have some family members who may be kind of off kilter, we let them know before they even step and go, hey, letting you know, our neighbors be on one. They will call the cops. So you better come here coming clean and not riding dirty. And then they decide if they want to come up and visit us or not. That is protocol. Like, trust me, we are not moving into your areas to like take it over and then do hip hop videos or whatever you guys think is going to go in your mind once we move there. We just want to live there, go to the good schools that your kids go to, and get that good old public school education that we all should get, but you got the better version of it, and then go home and then make money and then, have an asset for our house so we can leave to our kids. That's all. The American dream, ain't it?
Some of that American dream that y'all keep promising everybody be able to get.
Right.
Although,
right.
We say that, I do want that to happen. I want there to be an up and coming rapper in an affluent neighborhood that there's one old white lady that's always been real fucking nice to him, and so she shows up in every one of their videos. Like, they're like, she's like, you can do anything you want. Like,
this is Karen, my neighbor. I love her to death.
Yeah. A little do-rag, a little top button, and she's just like 80 years old, going just bumping in the background.
She sells me my weed.
She probably is selling them the weed.
She's got the card, man. She's got the card.
Absolutely.
Very
All right,
anxious.
and our last subject of the day is on some somber news. Word has just gotten out that LoveCraft Country will not be renewed for season 2. Jason, number A, your thoughts on this?
This is terrible. Horribly disconcerting. It is infuriating. But I know why. It's a part of the system. This show, its audience is very limited. Even though it's a great show, it's just, if you were in a boardroom full of people that look the exact same as you do, or maybe there might be one or two people that don't, it's very hard for you to see the value in things like this. And AT&T as a company is very top-down directed. That's why Justice League sucks. That's why a lot of things that Warner Brothers has come out in the last few years are not very good, because they only see their bottom line rather than seeing things that can actually be important to not only to society, but also to the conversation. And they don't give a shit about any of that. They just give a shit about making money. And if it didn't make X amount of money for them, bye. And that's it. And that's basically probably the only reason why. And we could say that, Misha Green had, plenty of thoughts and stories left, unlike, DB Weiss and the other dude, David Bettenhoff, or maybe it's David Bettenhoff, DB, anyway. But, but they got 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, but it doesn't matter. Like, we know exactly how the game is being run. So it's not surprising. It's just
absolutely. Jaren, your thoughts on LoveCraft Country being canceled?
So initially, I thought, because I read an article and they were like, and they were like, the reasons they suspected it was canceled was because there is no additional subject matter. So they ran it's based on one book, and they ran the gamut on that book, and there is nothing to continue on. And not thinking of it, like not wanting to jump to the worst conclusion immediately, I thought, well, that makes sense. They really fucking shit the bed with Game of Thrones, and it's because they went well outside of the established, storyline, and they were on double duty. They were writing and adapting it. That being said, Misha Green's talked a bit now publicly about the disappointment and the fact that they had an entire Bible for season 2 ready to go. They had the main story arcs pinned. They knew how they were going to go about it and what they were going to do. Then it makes me assume that the worst is the worst case scenario. It's not because
it's also for me like
shy. It's
between the book and the show, like they've made a lot of changes to better ground the show in more of, I would say, and more blackness, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Because the original book was written by a white dude, but even though it was, about the same subject matter, they changed a whole bunch from the book to the show to really like ground it in and basically change it into its own thing. So it's like, yeah, they don't need another book to go off of, because they've already pretty much changed it from the source material to be its own thing in the first place. So it's kind of like you kind of have to go to the worst case scenario after that point, because it's like, yeah, they changed so much from the book that it's like the fact that it's not another book doesn't like, there shouldn't have been like a deciding factor at all anyway. So
yeah. And that being said, a huge fan of the show, never read the book. So
yeah.
So I wouldn't know.
So I'm a try not to get extremely pissed off and get animated and yell, but I'm pretty sure we're at episode 11. Everybody's used to be fucking yelling, so it is what it is. But I'm gonna try my best. So I guess the first thing I want to start is with, to my knowledge, LoveCraft Country, the book, is written by a white guy, right?
Right.
That's what I heard.
And this goes to my point. What I'm trying to say. So you're telling me that Black people can't continue a series about Black people in sci-fi because the book, which they took it from, that was written by a white guy about Black people in this situation, it ain't no more books. So black people can't continue this story with blackness in mind, like the white guy started the story with blackness in mind for sci-fi. Man, they don't get the fuck out of here with this bullshit they trying to pull, man. This is the bullshit, and I'm gonna go on both sides. This is the shit I fucking hate. One, I hate us in the sense that, and not me and you, particular Jason, but a lot of my people, we didn't even support the thing. It became after like maybe episode 3, people started jumping on the bandwagon. If you saw on that Facebook and all that, because I remember me and you, Jay, that's part of the reason why Jason's on the show. I started seeing his stuff about Lovecraft Country, and no one else was talking about it except for me and him. And I was like, damn, like, why is nobody else talking? And then by episode 3, you started filling more timelines, but we didn't support this like we're supposed to. Because you're not going to tell me if let's say majority of black people would have been watching this, the numbers and ratings would have been through the roof. They would have been forced now to say this is the number one show on TV or whatever. Because whenever we do get behind some shit, we always make it the number one show on that network. If you watch all network TV, they always start off with a black premise, I always say. A lot of network TV, when they start off with an alternative black audience and programming until they make it, and then they start shedding it away for the white programming. Fox, when they started off, bunch of black shows on there, bunch of alternative shows on there. We can go through the list, and that's how it goes. Or if a network starts falling off, they start bringing in more black and more ethnic entertainment to build it back up. So we didn't support this properly. The second part of it is that I'm so tired of network TV whenever it is us looking positive and us looking good, or us even just acting like where the race thing is not really a central dramatic part of it, but just part of the character because they are black, but not being like, oh, I gotta be pro-black and talk with the slang on the black hand side and I'm a pimp. But like whenever we get one of us on it, it's just a regular black person living in the walkway, it just magically finds out that we get canceled.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the people who made fucking Black Lightning because you know what, CW? I know the ratings of a lot of them shows. A lot of white shows have been on for 8 seasons and ain't nobody fucking watched ever. But yet this show, they
somehow
got a
they
black
can say
character.
Supergirl from
two
different fucking networks.
Yeah.
And nobody watches that.
Educated black man and educated black family. All of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the ratings ain't good enough to continue this shit. And you telling me people watching Legends of Tomorrow? Is that what you're telling me?
Titans.
Yeah,
Titans,
like it enrages me because we don't have a lot of that kind of TV going on, and the TV that we do get that's supposed to be kind of cultivated for our culture is usually on some, I hate to say it's on some stuff that's not accessible to all cultures. Can we just get shit that's accessible to all cultures to just have black main characters? And every time we get that, it seems like it gets canceled. But everything that's on Tyler Perry lasts for 20 million seasons. That I couldn't name a white person that actually gives a shit about that. But for some reason, it just fucking bothers the fuck out of me that we just can't get some regular shit. Like actually, me and my daughters now are watching Craig of the Creek, and we just finished the whole first season. Yes, great show. Like, and it was started by white folks, but the head writer is a black guy and a black woman. Yes, because you know what? We can tell our stories better than anybody else. So let's have it. And that story doesn't even predicated on Craig really being black. It's predicated about a kid being a fucking kid and wanting to do an adventure. But it's great that he's a black kid who's an inventor and a creator and a creative type and a leader of his team. That's great. That's a plus for me. But him being white, whatever colors, the show still works. But it just bothers me that this is what it's come to for that show. Great show. Hopefully, I'm praying maybe Netflix or somebody picks it up and continues it, because I think this would be even better vehicle if it went to Netflix or somewhere where we can get all the seasons dropped immediately and just binge through it and enjoy it and talk about it. Yeah, it would be great. I know Jaren's more upset because, I think it's Jamie Chung because, the sister's canceled. She won't be on there now. He won't be able to watch her. He'll have to Google her now. So I know he's disappointed about that, but
got to go back to the old Real World Road Rules Challenge episodes that she was in.
Yeah,
right.
What was she? Real World Seattle.
Yeah, and Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she was a Sucker Punch. You're correct. But that's all we got, man. I know it hates to end on a somber note, but guys, I mean, if you want to be respectful, if anybody listens to this, we trashed a bunch of movies today and had a great time doing it. So hopefully you got your time and your energy full, because we went to town on everything here. As always, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys coming on. But before we say our goodbyes, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, share, follow us on all places, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, podcasts, all the places you can find us at. Please enjoy us and and tell your friends about us and have them enjoy us too. Please go ahead and comment and tell us what you think, because you might have actually liked Tomorrow War, Tomorrow Man, or whatever that shit was. And you know, we
Dynasty Warriors. You might have been.
Yeah, we might have
If
missed
you
the
are
point.
a Chinese historian specialist, please come and explain what was going on to me. I will sit and listen to you for like at least 35 minutes.
Ain't nothing about that historically accurate. Nothing about that.
So, but please enjoy that. But guys, as always, thank you guys for going. Jaron, any final words?
I personally don't find any reason to ever watch like a Medea movie, but I love LoveCraft Country. I think you're absolutely right. I like my, like, if there's a story that happens, if it's just a serviceable story and it's an excellent actor and they happen to be black and they're just doing a thing and it's not all about the race, I'm 100% more likely to be about it. And I think if they want to like to make things more like what you were saying, I guess Tyler Perry seems too insular. Like there's no jump on point for me. It seems like there's a joke that I'm not getting or something like that, and there's no real path for me to get there to the point where I'm going to go out of my way to figure it out or care. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They need more shows like LoveCraft Country, I think, and it is really sad, really really sad actually.
All right, Jason, number 8, Duke of all nerds. Any closing words?
I'm not mad at Tyler Perry. He's doing what he's doing to make his money. So keep doing what he's doing. But what I will say, hey, Tyler, if you're listening, if you want to branch out into sci-fi or fantasy or anything like that, I'm available for hire.
Hey, holla at him.
I will write you a fantasy movie or a sci-fi movie. You can put as many cross-dressed men as you want in it. I don't care. I'm all about that. Also, everybody, just be kind to one another and make sure you tip your bartenders and servers.
Yes.
As always, guys, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. And we are out of here. Peace.